coming through your mic.
And D. Bruce is only coming through my left ear.
Yep, same as last week.
I hate to tell you this, but I think your voice is coming through your mic.
We're live on YouTube.
And D. Bruce is.
CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS 80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
I don't think we're on Facebook, at least the right spot. Yeah, it has to be fixed and researched.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks and grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world. CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Welcome everybody. How are you doing? We are here for another episode of CoCoTALK, episode 134, holiday preview edition. We've got the holidays coming up. I'm so excited. I feel like I'm David Ladd.
Why, thank you, sir. Oh, I am excited too. Is everybody else?
Yes, David.
Yes.
All right, that's enough, David.
How bad is that?
All right, we're going to simmer down now and get serious. So how's the panel doing? Everybody having a good time here? I wanted to welcome those in the live chat. We've got Jim Brain from Retro Innovation says this show is a test. If it were a real show, there would be actual information disseminated. And thank you for adding your thoughts, Retro Innovations, and keep us posted on those products you're working on.
Well, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and look how many pictures there are.
Yes, we got a full house. We want to thank Mark.
CoCo.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we've got CoCo thoughts, and then we got troll thoughts.
Yes. I think we need a new segment for troll thoughts.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we should collect them all up, and we can just kind of scroll them all by, and that'd be kind of a fun segment.
It would be like the segment. What is it? Jimmy Kimmel or on the Tonight Show where they read mean tweets.
Yeah, we could do dramatic readings of Jim Brain's thoughts.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Well, Jim Brain was also up all last night working on those products he promised us, no doubt, and he needs a cure for his insomnia, so that's why he's here. Mark B is in the live chat. L. Curtis Boyle says you should be asleep in about 5 minutes, so it's a lot of Retro Innovations trolling in the chat. Dave's Hobbies, let's get the party going. Let's get up and running. Oh yeah, baby. Terry Steen, can Ken make it? We've never answered that question, and we're probably not going to answer it today. But he says Australia isn't real, and Facebook told him this. As we know, Facebook News, the biggest oxymoron. I have the rum handy. Dave's Hobbies. Okay, lots of talk in the chat, so join in. Paul Fiscarelli says, yo.
Ben Drake's Explore VR's in the chat room as well, our favorite person who's been hooking up all the CoCo games to VR.
That's right. The youngster in the community, I believe he's, what is he, 36, 39? He's the baby in the family.
Sub 40.
Well, anyway, we are talking about turkeys, going to be eating turkeys, going to be...
Well, in the States you will be. We already did our Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you guys we're like way ahead of the curve here.
Okay,
You're welcome to eat twice.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Some of us are turkeys.
When's Thanksgiving in Australia?
We don't have it.
We don't have a Thanksgiving.
Well, adopt ours.
Canada did. In the year, adopt Canada's.
I guess because there are no turkeys in Australia, maybe.
Well, there is no Australia.
We have plenty out
no
my
Australia.
way.
What are we talking about? Yeah.
We have plenty in Tom C's area. Is Tom C on? I don't see him.
No.
Yeah, if you check that story that was posted on Facebook, Australia doesn't really exist. And
No wonder they don't have turkeys.
And all the Australians are paid
actors.
Yeah, paid actors.
That's right, Nick Morantes. The jig is up. You can lose that silly accent now.
Crikey.
Jason, are you parked in an alley?
No, I'm not in an alley. No, it's definitely not dark. It's daytime.
But he wears his sunglasses
Yes.
at night.
Hey, I want to go on the record officially here and say I posted that because we have so many Australians that, are into the CoCo and that watch the show and watch CoCo in general, not just picking on Nick Morantes. So, just so everybody knows.
Sure, Mark, sure.
There's plenty of other Australians to pick on too, but I don't think any of them are on the panel today, are they?
No.
No.
Well,
We should probably go around the panel. Speaking of the panel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's time to go around the panel, and I was thinking you could tell us maybe kind of what the CoCo or other retro systems meant to you over the holiday season. For example, did you go over to Aunt Jane and Uncle Jim's house and they had an Intellivision? Did you have your cousins over and they were wondering, well, what's that color computer do? What kind of games can it play? And did you bond over that? What's your kind of holiday memories for the color computer, and maybe kind of take us through that as we go around the panel, and also tell us maybe what you're up to. Let's start with the man, the executive producer, the guy who has a garage, and he's become very famous in the community. He's not French, but he kisses that way.
Could be.
Ron Delbo.
Only my hairdresser knows for sure.
How are you doing, Ron?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. How's my neighbor here in Arizona?
It's good. I'm waving to you right now.
Hey, bud.
By the way, clean up the backyard. Come on, it's getting out
Yeah,
of hand.
really. Well, we do have a dog, so. Anyway, so I can remember holidays. I used to have my CoCo out in the dining room, and we'd have family over, and it would be for like a birthday or something, or if it's for Thanksgiving. It's like, keep the mashed potatoes off of my computer. Okay? None of the kids with their goopy hands would go near it. I would stay close to it. Get them back. Get them back. They always get a hand up there wanting to touch the keyboard. But basically, we've always had a color computer up in our home ever since they came out, ever since I had one. And it's pretty much been a fixture in the house. I think even nephews and nieces know that, I had the computers and stuff. And now they can probably teach me stuff about their Mac or PC because, they have the latest stuff and all that stuff. And here I'm sitting here with an old dual core ugly machine, from back 8 years ago. But anyway, CoCo's always been in the family. I even have a brother-in-law that's got one again, and it's always been fun for me.
And why did you have it on the kitchen table? Did you have
it? Was dining room. We had space. I had a desk, and it was sitting on there with the TV, and actually, some of the time I would have my DS69 running, and I would take pictures of the family and stuff, and then print out the picture of them, and they thought it was really cool. Except for everybody couldn't get one because I couldn't print them out fast enough. took an hour for one picture of one kid, So that's me. You guys go ahead.
Yeah, well, Mark B is here, occasional streamer and collector of products. Mark, you're always wearing your Radio Shack T-shirt with pride. What is your holiday experience like?
Heck, if I can remember. I didn't get into computers until after I moved out on my own.
Oh yeah,
pretty much so.
So that's interesting because I had a photographer friend of mine, and he really didn't get into computers at all until they became more associated with his job. So not even into the into the 90s when PCs became big. So even though he's in his 60s, he never went through that or had any interest in computers. So it certainly at some point it crossed that threshold where you had to get a computer to get your job done, and then eventually now you kind of need a computer or a phone to stay in touch with people, on social media and stuff like that. So, but if you think of any other memories, even as an adult, just jump in. Would be curious to hear that.
I didn't get my first CoCo until I was actually working for Radio Shack.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Did you have any other Radio Shack computers or Tandy 1000s or?
No, just CoCos actually. Got one of those little pocket computers things, but.
When did you start working for Radio Shack? What year?
85, 84.
Okay.
84.
So you were, in the thick of it in terms of the color computer. And do you remember when the CoCo 3 came out? Was that a big deal at your particular store?
I worked at a store really just over Christmas, I think 84. And then after that I worked at the service center. So I wasn't in the retail side of it.
Okay. Well, we'll come back. If you think of any holiday stories or anything you want to preview for this holiday season and Thanksgiving, Christmas, we'll revisit this topic. Mark D. Overholzer, 6502 expert.
I know a lot. I know more than most people do, probably.
Yes, our expert. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, probably.
You've last seen him at VCF West. What are your latest project? Anything you want to tell us? And how were the holidays in terms of retro computers? Of course, they were just called computers back then. How was that for you? And do you have any memories?
Offhand, no, not really. And I didn't get into the CoCo until 2012, so I'm new to the CoCo area. I had Commodore 64, SX64, which is portable, and Apple IIe. I can't really think of any holiday memories. I mean, I got my first big computer, basically with a floppy disk, in November of 1983. So I'm sure I had a good Christmas stuff. I just don't remember anything particular. It's real exciting. So anyway, retro projects, but nothing to mention at this time.
Okay. Well, next, a man who needs almost no introduction, but we'll try anyway. Recipient of the Canadian CoCo Medal of Honor.
Take it away, Bruce.
First initial.
Thank you very much.
First initial L, he was named after Leisure Suit Larry. L. Curtis Boyle. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I left my gold chains in the other room, though.
Oh, yeah?
we pronounce it leisure here in Canada, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Leisurely.
Yes.
Leisurely suit Larry, yeah.
You did copy Larry's mullet, though, for a little while there.
I did for a bit, yeah.
And I think we've seen some photos of you early on in the early '80s with your CoCo 1. And was there anything associated with CoCo? If you were like me, you were always begging your parents for new stuff all through the year. But was there any particular memory that stands out during the holidays?
Yeah, the very first year, the first Christmas after I got the CoCo, because I got a CoCo 1 with 4K in, would have been in September of '81. And I couldn't afford anything after I bought the computer for quite a while because I had to borrow money from mom and dad to get that as it was. So at Christmas, they gave me a cassette deck and a pair of the Black Beauty joysticks. So that was pretty major for me. As then I went out and I bought a couple of cartridges, I think Skiing and Project Nebula, the fall, after Christmas. So I actually had some games. And then in later years, I had a couple cousins and nephews and nieces that also had CoCos or got into computer gaming. So sometimes at Christmas, the adults would stay upstairs and chat and do whatever, and the kids would go downstairs, and we had my CoCo on a fairly large, wood panel TV type thing. So we'd get a bunch of games going on and just have a lot of fun with the kids, I guess. So that would be my CoCo memories. As far as project updates go, we just did a patch to the 689 version of Nitrous 9 right in the main kernel. Patched some memory stack copying routines for the 689 specific. And this is one of the rare occasions David and I, because David, thank you again for helping test and assemble it. We actually released this to the repository before it's going to be an EOU, because the EOU is still a work in progress, because I'm still working on G Shell and a bunch of other things too. So that one actually got pushed last night. Should be in the nightly builds. And I think David said you also emailed Tormod, so he's going to maybe do some patching for the kernel for the MOO, the 512K board for the CoCo 1 and 2. And,
I thought you were going to say this was a rare occasion where you and David agreed on something.
Yeah, that's rare too, but yeah. Those I'm going to try to get back to the CoCoMem Junior later this year too. For Jim Brain, I'm going to try to do those same patches in that version of Nitrous 9 as well. So that's about all I've got for now.
Okay. Well, we've got a man who works at Apple and knows a few things about Apple. John Laurie, how are you doing? What are you working on? And what are your holiday memories of the computers in the 80s?
I also worked for Radio Shack back in the 80s. Started in 82. Actually worked at a Radio Shack computer center, and I had free access to pretty much everything Radio Shack sold in terms of computers. I do remember when the CoCo 3 came out. That was kind of a big deal because it was a new CoCo with new capabilities that our beloved CoCo Plus is basically what it was. And I worked for Radio Shack on two different stints actually. Once in the early to mid 80s, like 82 to 85 or 86, and then again in the mid 90s. I also worked for a couple of years for Radio Shack. No projects right now. I just got back from picking up this little doodad here. It's a gimbal for a mobile phone. I bought an iPhone 11 Pro a couple of weeks ago, and turned in my iPhone 10. And they said, "Oh, we're going to give you X amount of dollars." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I turned the phone in, and they're like, "Okay, well, here's part of it as a Apple gift card, and the rest will give you cash." So the amount that they gave me on the gift card was enough to get this little puppy here. It's a gimbal. You put the phone on it, and then no matter how you move your hand around, it keeps the phone steady and stabilized. And it's got a bunch of doodads to it, and that's kind of what I've been playing with today. But as far as CoCo projects are concerned, I haven't really been doing much lately. I just recently got back to work and been concentrating on that. So,
what kind of work you do now?
I'm still work for Apple. I'm in the Apple Care division. I'm a senior advisor in the Mac Plus Tier 2 division.
So you look for soft spots on the apples?
Yeah. And sometimes I press the cider. Yeah, no, I do troubleshooting on computers, iPhones, iPads, Apple Watches.
You would think they would give you one.
They gave me 2 actually.
Oh,
2
good.
computers.
Yeah. Cool.
They belong to Apple, but I use them for work.
Yeah.
So, but they've given me a good job. I really like working for Apple, and it's a cool company to work for. I get paid well, good benefits.
No seeds.
Everything. Yeah. No seeds. Yeah. So yeah. So just been basically concentrating on getting back into the swing of things at work. I was off for 2 months. So believe it or not, you start to forget to do your job after 2 months.
No.
Yeah. I really did. I was surprised how much out of whack I was. So my first week back was kind of like.
Well, do you have a cubicle?
Well, I work from home. So I
Oh.
basically where I'm sitting right now is
Right
where
there?
I work from.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I'm in my living room actually. I got my TV over there, and kitchen's over there, bathroom's over there. So it's real cool working from home because you're home. There's no commute time to and from work, and
is the CoCo within reach?
The CoCo right now is on the kitchen table because I don't have any room on the I got the work computers, and then my personal Mac are on the main desk here, and the CoCos are set up on the kitchen table right now. I'm hoping to buy a house soon and then get a room dedicated for everything, for work. My main office is going to be a big room that just pretty much everything.
So you're going to have a house cave.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the whole thing will be a computer, giant computer cave.
Kind of like David O'Connor's house.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, well,
It's got a lot of equipment.
Oh yeah.
Great. Well,
glad to hear your mom's doing good too, Rob.
Oh, hey, thanks.
Yep,
she's better.
Good to hear.
Thanks.
It's good to hear. Speaking of music and equipment, Brian, the music man, how are you doing? I see, what do we have, audio spectrum analyzer going on, or what's in the background?
Yep, that's audio spectrum analyzer. Am I coming through all right?
You are?
Yep.
But
All right.
You sound less demonic today. Is there anything wrong?
Oh, great. Now you just tempted him.
There he goes. To the dark side.
How is that?
That's much better. I think I've just gone to the bathroom.
That's just like talking to David Ladd about floppy drives. You'll never get it to stop after that. So.
Oh, I love the voice. Keep it up, Brian. I love it.
Yeah, you would.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
How about that?
Oh, that's a lot of fun.
I don't know if that works out or not.
And just think, you don't have to waste the world's supply of helium to do that.
Exactly.
Yes, it's very eco-friendly. Yeah, Brian, I don't know you very well, but you seem like a guy who would have some holiday memories of the color computer. I don't know why.
Let's see, I worked a couple years at Radio Shack back in the 80s also. Starting about 83, 84, I think. Assistant manager, sales, that sort of thing. And eventually ended up at near one of the computer centers and whatnot in Highland Park, if anybody's familiar with Chicago area. And it was fun. Then I moved on to better things than that. Otherwise, for Christmas, just messing around with too many different things. Working on cars mostly. And that was my big thing. Computers also a little bit, but more with cars.
What kind of cars do you hang with?
Well, I did a lot of private stuff, like my own personal garage with my dad, my stepdad, and that, and called New Shoes Garage.
What, Fords, Chevys, Chryslers? What do you?
Quite a few different things, including a Porsche that, God, I wish never showed up. It had this dang stupid Lucas ignition and electrical system. Ugh, hate those things.
Nobody likes Lucas.
Exactly. No, I had a 65 Ford Galaxy 500 with the nice big block 390 in it. The one from up there in up Great North there, eh? It was the high performance block that Canada was producing for their power boxes.
Well, that's like having a CoCo with a 2 meg in it.
65, there was no computer, but it would sure go. Yeah, I didn't really get a whole lot into the computers back then, and that, I messed around with it. I had a CoCo 2, of course CoCo 3, and that, and just basically having fun, just doing so many different things. Always ran ADOS.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So that was always. I still got a whole bunch of discs that I probably should get moved over. And that.
Hey Brian, just out of curiosity, like when you got heavily into the synths, which is probably more the '90s, I think. Did you do some Christmas stuff then? Did you ever play like MIDI concerts or MIDI songs for Christmas for friends and family or anything?
Actually, on occasion, I did, yeah. And that, but there's just messing around, whatnot. Let's say, I think the first real synthesizer I had was I'd gotten. Where did I get that from? I think that was from Mike Carey. I think you might remember him from way back when. He's from Prospect, Tennessee. He rebuilt pianos, and he put the MIDI bars underneath the keyboard so that it became a player piano. And that I haven't talked to him for quite a few years. I know he had brain surgery because he had a tumor in that. I'm not even certain if he's still alive in that, but he's kind of dropped out of existence. Last time I talked to him was, I think, about maybe 8 years ago. But he was doing pretty good then, but he was kind of moving on to other things and such.
Okay.
He was there at the CoCo Fest in Elgin, 92, I think, 93. We had that whole big thing with me, Mike Knutson, Mike Carey, and myself. We had that whole big thing laid out up on the stage. It was at the Holiday Inn on the south side of 90 in Elgin. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
Yep, I do.
Yeah. I know you do. And that, yeah.
It's true. Curtis is always in the CoCo Fest band. So we might want to come back to that topic here and talk about some performances that happened at Christmas time. But speaking of, we were talking about cars. There's a man that's in a car right now, and he's a guy that comes out with a lot of products, and they're named after Australian
non-existent places.
Australian birds, and I think
all fake.
I think my soundboard doesn't work. Oh yes, I think you've got a cop on your tail. Jason Reichert, the CoCo man. How are you?
Oh, now sounds like your soundboard's coming through your mic.
That's right.
I'll let you know.
Thank you for letting me know. I'm
also hearing your voice through your mic, so just you might want to be aware of that.
I thank you.
Yeah, I got some low audio quality today. I'm using my car's Bluetooth. But anyway, holiday memories. I guess the biggest CoCo holiday memory for me is going to be that Christmas of '84 is when we got our CoCo 2, our first computer, our first CoCo, which I've said many times before. I still have. I found it and working getting it running again. 16K color basic to the plain black non-deluxe joysticks, and I think like bust out in a CCR 81 tape recorder. So how it all started.
You're not going to call them black beauties?
I called them what I called them.
He calls it like it's
and Christmas, holidays around the CoCo. Other than getting it for getting the whole family getting it for Christmas. I remember running some of those, probably keying in, or at least maybe help keying in some of those Christmas demos from Rainbow back in those times, and
sure,
that kind of thing, and then just other stuff gotten from Radio Shack, and I was just at a thrift store a few hours ago, and I finally I have to get out of this place. There's way too much of my childhood in this store. I found all kinds. I took some took some pictures and everything. I did pick up a few things, but I'm like, okay, I need to get out of here before they get a good chunk of my paycheck. But I found I can show real quick here. I think this is something that was probably a Christmas gift, and I think actually my brother had this. It was the Tandy. You can see that it's the Tandy electronic baseball, the little LEDs and whatnot.
Yes, we see that.
Yeah, and
now show us what's in your other hand. Both hands. No, don't do that.
Yeah. Look, Mom, no hand. No, there's no way I want to do that. Anyone that's familiar with Pittsburgh, I'm currently driving into Pittsburgh on Route 28, which is infamously bad. And I'm on the infamously bad section that used to be called the Death Stretch until it was redone here last couple years. But then I also picked up I had one of these when I was a kid. I picked this up too. I hadn't seen one of these forever. It's a little.
I can zoom into that. But we can't really see it. But can you describe it?
It's the Radio Shack computerized arcade. And
okay, here I can go.
I think I can actually pull it out of the box. There's all kinds of stuff in the box. There's like little poker chips and stuff with it, and it's just a bunch of lights that light up. I get a bunch of games. I remember having one. It was like $7. I grabbed it. I'm like, I remember having one of these as a kid.
Okay, we can see it now. I made it bigger.
That's one of those memory ones where you got tones and lights you got to do in the same order?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think it has a bunch of different games in it, actually. I remember it's very takes a lot of batteries. It takes 4 C batteries and 1 9-volt just to run this thing.
Wow.
So I was trying to remember the last thing I owned that even took C batteries. I think it was a wireless doorbell that didn't work well. So, but I haven't had a chance to try it out. But for $7, I grabbed it. It's in the box and has these little poker chips that came with it and everything else. So.
Does it have cool sounds?
Well, I don't have that quantity of batteries right now to try it. But I mean, I even had the box, and there's some little fake poker chips here somewhere that I think fell. I think they fell in between the seats there, but they're there.
It might take you 5 months to get enough batteries there with your battery of the month club. There, you have to get 4 months of C's and then a 9-volt.
Yeah, I was just thinking, how the printer market went, where the printers are cheap, but they get you on the ink. Well, that would be that game. Like they could sell for cheap and get you on the batteries.
I don't know about any of you guys, but when I had the battery of the month card, I always got a 9-volt.
Oh, of course, it was the most expensive one.
And that was one you could use for something. I always would have something that took a 9-volt battery.
Like, what would you use one AA for? Like, you have to wait another month to get the second one.
Yeah, but I still got double A's because I didn't have anything that had 9 volts probably until the mid-'80s.
Yeah, don't you remember checking the 9-volt with your tongue?
Still do it.
That's how I checked if it's cold outside on a flagpole, too. But
that explains a lot.
I get my kids to test them that way.
There you go.
Well,
now they all have afros. Anyway,
that's going to be another Joey cartoon, huh?
Used to have little old ladies, little old ladies come into my Radio Shack store with their transistor radios, and get the 9-volt with the battery of the month card, and they had me put the 9-volt in for them.
Wow.
Did you ever take care of guys' watches? Have to put the battery in the watch?
Sometimes I did that too, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we will. Of course, as soon as I changed the zoom, it shifted all the Hollywood squares on me. But I think next on our list is David Ladd. Are you still just as excited as you were when we first started the show 34 minutes ago?
Oh, yes, I am. Okay. Show to continue on.
Why do you tempt him like that?
Well, I want to know if it ebbs and flows, if it goes up and down.
Nope, it's permanent. He's on fifth
well,
gear all the time.
Here. Memories for the CoCo. Let's see here. I got the CoCo 2 back when I was 12, and I don't remember what year that was. It's been too long ago to remember. But I got the CoCo 2, a 64K, so it was at the full extended color basic. I got an MPI RS-232 pack, sound speech pack.
This is all at Christmas?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of stuff at Christmas and some educational cartridges and tapes. Big Bird special delivery.
Yeah. You must have been a good boy.
Taxi. And then,
explains why I got all the coal.
And then my birthday, which came a few months later, my parents got me the floppy drive for it. So I was really rocking the CoCo world back then.
That's starting his lifelong obsession.
And yes, floppies.
Now, David,
that also got me when the computer lab first got their PCs. That also got me in trouble trying to sneak out copies of the software.
David, did you often go over the 4-slot maximum in your MPI?
Oh, there was never enough
There
slots.
was never
for me.
enough slots.
Never. Because it's like also with the Orchestra 90, the RS-32 pack, of course, then once I got the Burke and Burke, it's like, but I want all this goodness. I always had problems with having enough slots.
Yes.
But as far as family, no, because really I was the youngest and pretty much everybody else was adults. So therefore it was like, no, they were always talking football and all the other boring crap. And I'm like, so I was just, playing my computer stuff, enjoying it. Long time.
Okay.
Sports ball.
And did you have? Do you want to talk later about your mouse adapter or anything else that we should come back to you for?
Sure, we can do that.
Alrighty. Well, I think we have somebody from out of this world also on the panel. He's from Jersey. Unless Jersey is the planet Romulus. Don't call him a red shirt. It's Al Hartman from Jersey. How are you, Al?
That's me. I'm doing okay. Here on the Jersey Shore, there is no flooding. The oceans are not rising.
Okay. Well, give it time.
My Christmas memories were working for Radio Shack and decorating the store and playing the Christmas demos on the CoCo. Every year, Radio Shack would send a cassette tape or a cartridge with a Christmas demo, and I'd load that up in the morning when I got in, and that would play all day on the CoCo.
Yeah, and somebody brought up Rainbow Magazine, and I should say that's probably my strongest memory was always the Rainbow had, everything was themed in the December, November issues. Did you get Rainbow back then, Al?
Well, yeah, I ran the Rainbow Bulletin Board back then.
Oh, that's right.
So I would always get the monthly discs, a Rainbow on disc and the Rainbow on tape, and I'd put them up on the bulletin board so people could dial in and download them. Probably took forever at 300 baud, because not very many people had 1200 baud or 2400 baud back then. I worked for Radio Shack on and off. I worked for Spectrum Projects. I worked for Zebra Systems. Oh, I see a Rainbow on disc from Ron Delvo.
Yes, sir.
Oh, there it is. Wow, I never could justify the expense, I guess, or maybe I just wanted to punish myself by typing everything in.
And look,
that's a flippy disc because it's got the
double-sided. Yep,
Yeah,
and
flippy floppy.
doesn't have any notches on the side.
Yeah, right protected.
Yeah, right protected. See, you know what kills me? When I worked for Spectrum and I ran the Rainbow bulletin boards and I had the Rainbow on discs every month, I never thought to make copies of them and take them home. So I had a set at home. I never did have a set at home. I just figured the Rainbow bulletin board would run forever and I'd be able to download anything I wanted.
Well, that's why we're thankful in this Thanksgiving season for Guillaume and the ColorComputerArchive.com.
Yeah, I bought my first color computer, which was a TDP 100 from Spectrum, I guess in the early 80s. But, that was when I was already living on my own, so I don't have any family memories of computers at Christmas. I bought my own computer, my Model 1, in December 79 or 78, but I didn't actually get it till January 79 because
Okay.
it took a while to get delivered to the store.
Well, if something occurs to you, let's jump back in. We've got a couple of other celebrities here to get to. A man who has been trying to convince us that he's Australian for years. A programmer who discovered the 6309 about a year ago and has created one of the best trash can icons in the history of multi-view for the OS 9 operating system. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Nick Marentes.
That's right.
We're still waiting for him to discover OS 9.
Yes.
I discovered that, all right. Yes, that's right.
By the only icon he made.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's me, the actor in that fictitious land.
Now, aside from annoying kookaburras, I'm talking about the bird, as we know.
Yes.
And very hot temperatures. It was 45 degrees Celsius the last time I was in Australia for Christmas. What are your holiday memories? Is it just being at the beach?
No, it's pretty well the same as, well, a lot of people have said here. Like Al just said, he's the Christmas. I used to work at Radio Shack, or Tandy Electronics over here. So Christmas was really about playing the toys, playing with the CoCos, just working in the store around Christmas time, putting up the decorations, setting up the displays, and it was very busy. You know, the shop, the mall, as you call it, it's always full of people around that time of the year, so it was a very busy period.
Now, you're famous for not liking a lot of change, and I recall a rumor that you were originally against Christmas when Jesus was first born. Is that?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay. You said Christmas will never be a thing. People will not be into Christmas.
I don't know if I said that. That might have been Nick Marionettes.
I think you're right. I always get those two confused. Well, Nick Marentes, not to be confused with Nick Marionettes, will you have a Game On segment or a core dump today?
Not really. I am getting very close to the end of the game. So I think my last blog, I put a list of things I still had to go rather than talk about what I've done. I figured I'll just talk about what's left to go. So one of the things on that list was to put get the high scores working, and I've just about got that going at the moment. So it's very close to completion.
Nick, the copy I got doesn't work very well.
No, it doesn't. Because they're only screenshots.
That's right.
Well, the YouTube video I watched had a really great. You really put a good use to that CoCoTALK with all that music from your son.
Well, that's not coming from the DAC. That's just overlaid.
All right. Well,
on the video.
Glad to have you here, and we'll come back to you. You know, jump in or go to sleep. Why stay awake now?
Well, that's right.
We have another Canadian. He's apparently had Thanksgiving too. Apparently, Canada is another country that has different holidays. Who knew? I think he just reappeared in a new Hollywood Square section of my board. Nobody will take D. Bruce Moore to block. Hello.
It's right side Moore.
Yes, hello. Apparently I'm in mono on the left shoulder. Not sure what that means.
Yes.
Well, like they say, less is more.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but Nick Marionettes was very against stereo and never thought it would catch on.
Yeah, that could be.
That could be. Yeah. So how are you, Bruce? You're always very active with different projects. You've got something going on with Compiled Basic in the Discord server. You've got your multimedia, CoCo Forever, of course, and your what's your new project called where you're hacking the phones?
Oh, System Hacked.
Thank you. I knew Hacked was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
What are your updates and what are your holiday memories? And are you creating new holiday CoCo memories with your son?
Well, I think probably my best holiday memory, and I've told this before, and I know some people out there relate to this directly themselves, but my friend Glenn down the street, he had the CoCo first. And it was Christmas time, and instead of having it set up in his room, he brought it out into the main living room area. And so there's a Christmas tree in the corner, and we had it set up on a table and all the presents there and all that stuff. And he was playing his CoCo stuff out there. And I guess his folks were out, and we were there, and it was over the holidays, it was dark. And I think we just had the Christmas lights on the tree. And then he went off to the washroom there, and so I thought, well, I'll just play this game a little bit just on my own. That I don't have to wait for him. It was, of course, it was Phantom Slayer, and anybody who's played Phantom Slayer in a dark room by yourself, you'll know that it in all of its 8-bit glory, it can still shock you right out of your chair, which is what it did to me. I almost had a heart attack when I'm roaring around and I hear the footsteps and I turn and there it was, and I just that big sound it made, and I just. Oh, to scare the bejesus out of me, so to speak. So that was my first real holiday CoCo memory down at Glenn's place.
So it looked pretty magical with them lights, huh?
Well, yeah, it was just all. It was all very creepy. The house was completely silent, you see, and then when that sound came through, it was overwhelming. I think Curtis, you've had a similar.
Oh yeah.
It was Christmas, but something with Phantom Slayer with you as well, right?
Yeah, same thing. It's on my webpage on my interview with Ken Kalish at the tail end, because he got a good laugh out of it when I told him that story. And then also later at work, we had a bunch of kids that are 10, 15 years younger than us. They said there's no way some little 8-bit game can scare me. Yeah. Because they're used to playing Doom and stuff like that. And I brought in Phantom Slayer one weekend when we were working overtime and had him play it, and he jumped too. So yeah, you can.
There you go. So it ain't the number of bits; it's the setup and the drama,
sound effects, especially in that particular case.
And that, especially when it's just so very creepy and quiet. So, yeah, so that was my that's sort of my holiday memory. Projects, yeah, I'm still chewing away at the my next CoCo game, and it uses C Basic, compiled Basic, as a bit of a framework. Although I'm writing more and more straight up assembly for it. And I'm finding actually, it's almost, the C Basic is almost becoming like a prototype, where I get it all running and then I go, okay, so this is working, and now I've run out of room. So now I take blocks of it and go back and just write it into straight assembly and save all sorts of memories. So there actually isn't a whole lot of C Basic left. It's shrinking more and more. So chewing away at that, and I'm getting my son Jacob to help. I'll throw something up and say, okay, what do you think of this? And he'll give me honest feedback. Well, this part's good and that part sucks. And it's like, he's right. So I've gone through. There's something I'm working on right now where I've gone through. I think I'm on my 3rd iteration. There's some effect I'm trying to get, and I think I'm getting in close to it. And so we'll see how that goes in the next little while. But when I get it, I'll be like, okay, it'll be pretty obvious that that's it and it worked. And it's not about looking so great as gameplay. So you need good gameplay regardless of the 8-bit graphics or whatever. And so on the multimedia side, of course, I've been cartooning. I haven't cartooned since I was in elementary school, and I'm doing my own CoCo cartoon, Joey and CoCo, and I've got one out new today, and I've got another one ready for next week, and I can show that whenever we're ready for it.
Okay, well maybe we can come back and we'll take a break and come back with perhaps Joey and CoCo or one of the other topics. I know you had some good ideas for other things to go over, and then Curtis, keep me honest with your schedule. I know you have to go somewhere later, maybe later today or.
No, I'm good for the afternoon. It was me getting late to the show. That's why I only showed up like 3 minutes before.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, let's take a break. I'm gonna pick a random commercial, and we'll see you after these messages.
Hello, this is Grant Leedy with CoCoTALK. Got your Coco 3 yet?
From the makers of the Switcheroo. Wallaby cable, Color Computer 3 dual RGB cable. Get yours today at cocoman.biz.
Fletcher, I don't need that report tomorrow.
Great, JT.
I need it tonight.
But JT...
Fletcher saved $300 on her office away from the office. Radio Shack's revolutionary Model 100 computer. It's a word processor, phone directory, and dialer. It even communicates with the office computer.
Fletcher, how's that report? Fletcher.
Radio Shack's Model 100. Save $300 and put it to work.
You'll go far, Fletcher. You'll go far.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
And we're back. We survived. We got somebody breathing heavy into the microphone. Maybe that's Ron. I don't know. No, Ron's on mute. But we're turning somebody on. So at least that's
probably David.
Probably. Well, what do you think? We've got some.
Probably news.
News, I would think. But why don't we go straight to D. Bruce? Are you still there, D. Bruce?
I am here.
Yes, you could. Joey and the CoCo first.
All right.
I can share it off of my screen. I think somebody else is sharing screen though. It says.
Yes, I have to stop sharing, and then you can take over and show us what's going on with Joey and CoCo.
Okay, so this is the continuing saga here. There is a sort of timeline story. So what have we had so far? What was the last thing? Oh, yeah, last week, Joey didn't realize that he had to save his program.
Okay.
So he turned the CoCo off, and he came back, and of course the CoCo told him he's got bad short-term memory. So this is a bit of a follow-up to that. Here we go.
All right, here we go.
All right, that's a little easier to see.
There we are.
So here's Joey with a cassette in hand, and he says, "So I put in the tape, press play and record?" And CoCo replies, "Yep." Then type C save. And then Joey's like, "That's a cool sound it makes." And the cassette there is going brrrp, brrree. And CoCo says, "Yeah, the two tones are zeros and ones. Computer talk instead of music." And then off screen we hear Dad going, "Anyone see my ABBA's greatest hits tape?"
Uh-oh.
And CoCo's going, "You didn't."
Well, I have a couple. First of all, I don't know that I ever kind of thought about it, that the two tones are zeros and ones. I mean, I guess that's obvious, but so that kind of, I already learned something from Joey and CoCo. And also,
is that even true? I suppose it is.
No,
I'm just guessing.
it's a mark and a space. It's not a 1 and a 0, because that's serial data. It's like 7 or 8 bits, and the combination of mark and space determines what the character actually is.
Okay.
Okay, wait, I kind of got lost during all that. So, can you explain that again? Wait, Brian?
It's a square wave, isn't it, Brian?
The square wave.
Yeah, it's square. It's two different tones.
Okay.
Okay. It's like a modem. You got two different tones for one for your space and one for your mark. Okay, and the combination of the 7 or 8 bits, like on serial data, determines what the character is of the 8 bits that you're using, or 7 bits. So what it does is that the tones actually create the what character is, and it just goes so fast at a certain speed that it sounds like it's a whole bunch of different tones, but it's really just 2 tones.
Okay. So I did essentially get it right then.
I always thought that the mark equivocated to 1 and the space to 0. So, but anyway,
square wave.
Yeah.
And they're not square waves. They're sine waves on the color computer.
Are they?
Yep.
Well,
like stair step sign or
Sorry?
stair step sign?
Well,
Like it's not a smooth sign, but
it's not. Well, it's as good as you get on the deck.
Yeah, it's a 6-bit sign or whatever.
And now, what was the problem with the Model 1? Was that it was a 1-bit? It was a 1-bit on that cassette port that made it very unreliable. Nick?
well, if it's a DAC, it'd be 6-bit, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah. On the DAC, it's 6-bit on the color computer, but on the TRS-80 Model 1 was only a 1-bit sound. But I don't know if that's to do with the data itself. That was just the sound that the waveform rather that they recorded. It was more reliable. Well, it is more reliable to use sine waves. So, and that was one of the big things with the Model 1, why it was not reliable loading things. The square waves, the sharp edges of a square wave on some, playback or record devices didn't come out very clearly. So it was found to use a sine wave for the color computer to make it more reliable and let you go at a higher speed.
That would make sense because the audio equipment is really designed for.
Yeah.
The Model 1 is 500 baud.
Yeah.
The Model 3 and the CoCo are 1500 baud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul Fiscarelli in chat is saying it's a sine wave generated by the 6-bit DAC, and it's 1200 hertz for a 0 and 2400 hertz for a 1.
Yep, that sounds right.
There we go.
And there used to be an upgrade for the Model 1 called the XRX mod that made the Model 1 more reliable. And I know there used to be in the market for the Model 1, Model 3, Model 4, CoCo, little devices you could buy to hook up to the cassette port that would clean up the signal and make loading and recording tapes more reliable. I don't remember the names of them for the CoCo and the Model 1, but on the Timex market, we sold something called the Winky board, and it would have 2 blinking lights. And so when the one light was red and the other light blinked, you knew you had your volume and your head azimuth set correctly. I don't know how many of you did this, but back in the day, I'd have one of those little Radio Shack TV tuner kits with the plastic screwdrivers, and I'd use that to adjust the head azimuth, and I'd listen to the tape load until it was clear as my ear could discern, and then I would usually get a good tape load.
Well, at least we got the higher bit DAC in the color computer, although Tandy may have used that as an excuse not to put a sound chip in there. So, it could have been a blessing or a curse. I'm not sure which.
Now, when I did WeFax with my color computer on the jack that went in to listen to the radio, there was some hack to do using 2 Zener diodes, or I don't know exactly how you say that, but you soldered them into the line, and it would make it so that it would be a cleaner reception. And I still use that today.
And who knew a cartoon was going to get us into tech talk?
Yeah.
Tim Franklin said it's called FSK, which means frequency shift keying. So that's the technique they use for doing that encoding.
That sounds right, yeah.
So the 2 Zener diode trick would essentially clip the tops of the signals if they were too loud.
Okay.
I do remember one thing. There was a poke, and I think Rainbow published it at one point once the CoCo 3 came out, because some people were accidentally saving their stuff with the double speed poke turned on, and it would shorten it too much. It wouldn't read reliably. But there was a poke that would extend the leader, and that at the beginning, it actually elongated that, and then it would actually load them properly, so you were getting just about 3,000 baud, which actually was pretty impressive.
Well, the other thing that's important in this comic strip is ABBA's Greatest Hits is probably one of the biggest selling albums of all time. So this would be very upsetting, I think, to a lot of people.
And let me just say the title for next week's Joey and CoCo is Dad Still Angry? So next week, tune in to see if Dad is still angry.
Joey may have met his Waterloo.
But see,
and then the episode after that's the final one because Joey's dead. But
and back then you could have said, "Oh, but don't worry, Dad. ABBA's gonna get back together and release a new album." But that never happened. Speaking of legendary performers and musicians, the creator of Audio Spectrum Analyzer is here, Mr. Steve Bjork. How are you, Steve?
Hey.
Hey, Steve.
Welcome.
And thanks for being here, Steve.
Is he muted?
He's a man of few words. And many...
His audio's having issues.
Hi, Steve.
Hey there.
Did you catch our theme here, Steve? We're just kind of going over Christmas memories that might involve the CoCo, whether, you got one. Obviously, you probably didn't get one for Christmas, but if there's any family memories, with the CoCo involved. Maybe a Datasoft. I don't know if you guys did anything for Christmas there or anything.
Unlike other people that come in late, I watched the video a little bit on YouTube before I join in.
We're sorry. Anyway, go on.
I'm not going to come in and say, and what have you guys been talking about for the last half hour?
Yep. There'll be a little bit extra check.
You might ask why we're talking about stuff for the last half hour.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, any CoCo Christmas memories for you? Like, did you write any Christmas demos or anything like that? Or
I didn't write any Christmas demos, but I do remember. I don't know if it exactly was Christmas. I think it was an early Christmas gift that my dad bought me a TRS-A Model 1.
Oh, cool.
And he was in computers where he was working at Litton Electronics. They were trying to miniaturize the stuff to go in submarines and like that. And he just thought it was great that you had such a small computer. He also remembered me building a computer when I was in an electric shop for about a year. And then they came out with the first computer kit, the Altar 8800, after I spent a year putting this thing together. So it just
What did you get with your Model 1?
I don't understand the question.
What are the components you got with the Model 1?
I got a Model 1.
You got a display? Did you get the cassette player? Did you get the expansion interface?
When you buy the computer out of the box, you get a monitor and the computer. Later, I added the expansion pack. Okay. Right away, I put a cassette player in, and then I got the disk drives.
Oh.
But as far as Christmas goes, he bought me a Model 1. Trying to stay on subject here.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a good Christmas. Is that where it sounds like you probably were very excited about that.
I was quite excited, and I do remember typing in some programs and then having to turn off the computer at night and realize I was going to have to type the programs in again. So the next day I went down and got the cassette player.
Oh,
yes.
There's the truth right there.
Yeah. You
that lines up with the cartoon too. So.
Yeah, but even before I got the Model 1, I had been playing around with like the Altar 8800 because I had a couple friends that had them, and I was also going up to the Homebrew Computer Society Club meeting that was held once a month up in Silicon Valley, which was fun for a 16-year-old kid driving up from Los Angeles to San Francisco by himself, but still, and got to see all sorts of interesting things like people loading paper tape by using a drill to spin the tape. And kept thinking there's got to be a better way than doing this. I know we're trying to do it on a shoestring budget, but I can just see the paper tape constantly breaking. And it did.
Actually, speaking of the computer club meetings you had up in Silicon Valley at that time in the mid to late 70s, did they have any theme things too? Like at Christmas time, did they have a bunch of Christmas demos running on, prototype Apple Ones and Altairs? And all that
they were lucky to get demos running in the first place. Having a Christmas theme to it was tough. The first demo that I heard that wasn't, just trying to blink a bunch of lights and like that or saw was somebody having the Altar 8800 play Turkey in the Straw. I think that was the saw. By running different instructions, and that would make interference on the AM radio next to it. And it won the Strip Screw Award for coming up with a useless but still functional idea for this effectively useless computer.
That's going to be one of the earliest examples of wireless speakers.
That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. The interesting thing about it was, you had no input and output. I remember the first time it was like 3 or 4 months after going up there, somebody actually brought a terminal hooked up the Altar 8800. We thought that was the greatest thing.
Yeah, because before that, you had to flip switches to enter hex digits, didn't you? There's no screen.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, somebody would sit
no
there and flip
keyboard.
switches for a while, and then they'd screw up, and they had to flip switches for a while, and then they'd screw up again. They have to flip switches for a while, and after about 45 minutes of this, then the lights would flash, and that was pretty much most of the demos. But the program. Well, this program here is calculating pi to 5 digits. Okay, how do you know it's actually calculating anything at all? Because all you see is a bunch of flashing lights. Well, when it gets done, it holds the number up there. I'm going, okay. See this calculator? I press this button and it does it to 8 digits.
And it actually displays digits using an LED. So
yeah. So it was definitely beginning days, but I think by this I came up the second year and there wasn't that many people there for the December meeting. And nobody really had a Christmas demo going on. It's just like, hey, you would have Steve Wozniak there showing off how he could freak phones, or he had an answer machine on his phone, and then eventually he came in with his Apple One. And
hey, Steve, did you ever have a Pulsar watch when they first came out?
I don't know if it was Pulsar, but I did have an LED watch.
I had one. It was had like a ruby lens to it,
Well, yeah, most of the LED watches had some sort of red filter on them, so that you could see the digits, and it would show up the best. But interesting story. My first time working at Radio Shack, they had me come in selling Model 1 computers and like that. No, actually, I think this was before the computers. This was earlier, like 76. And I was wearing my LED watch, and I'm working the late shift by myself. And some guys come in, they want to buy this, that, and the next thing. Next thing I know, they're whipping out a Saturday night special, and they're robbing me in the store. And they took my watch that I have for graduation.
Oh, dear.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a memory.
But, yeah, the manager went through and he was going to grab one of the LED watches off the shelf and give it to me to replace mine. I go, I'm sorry. I would like to get my watch back since you guys have insurance. In other words, what he was grabbing off the shelf was a cheap knockoff of my LED watch I had for about a year.
Cheap knockoffs everywhere.
Yeah.
And one thing I remember is those did not last long with a battery.
Yeah. But no, as far as Christmas memory goes, I still have equipment at my parents' house, which I got to go through and start cleaning out since my dad's passed away not too long ago, and my mom's not doing too well either. So we got to get the house ready for sale. But I've got Atari 5200s there, and Atari 2600, but I've got some other things that I've gotten for Christmas. But I've also, when I've gone up there for Christmas, would dig through, and it's almost like you're getting Christmas again, because you find, oh yeah, I did get this thing, and like that. And I'm still looking for my Tinker Toys and my Erector set. I haven't found those yet.
And one other question for you, Steve. I know at Radio Shack, when you were publishing game stuff, they usually, especially if you're doing ports on behalf of somebody else, usually had deadlines to meet. Were any of the games that you did deadline for Christmas season?
Effectively, everything I produced that was a game had a deadline for Christmas. And guess when that deadline was?
Thanksgiving?
July 1st.
For the catalog, probably, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It would not go in the catalog if they did not have final product by July 1st.
With a couple of exceptions like Last Ninja. But anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, well, that's the problem is they thought for sure they were going to get it, and they put it in the catalog. I mean, we all seen the picture of the deluxe color computer in the catalog, and that got killed at the last second. But no, it just when it came to doing games, it had to be done by July 1st, so it could, because they were setting the catalog. But also, it took them a long time to make the ROM. Even though I delivered the game on July 1st, by the time they actually shipped it out to the stores, it was October.
Did they have many games ready for Christmas in 1986 when the Color Computer 3 came out for the CoCo 3?
I have to admit, I was probably one of the first ones. I can't remember. Yeah, I think my first game that could run the CoCo 3 was ready for the first Christmas of the CoCo 3.
But there weren't many titles, which is kind of disappointing.
Well, see, there, as Curtis probably knows from, the stories from Microware, is Microware was the only one that had a prototype machine with the logic boards and like that. They were the big guys trying to get OS 9 done, since Tandy was working on that. But the rest of us developers, we didn't get those machines. We got early versions of the gimme, so we had developed the software as best we could until the machine came, and then we could sit down and play with it. At least a lot of the specs had been done about how the graphics were going to work and like that. I do remember the biggest problem was, oh gee, we've got to deal with the fact that we've got composite video and RGB, and they're different.
Yeah, much to Nick's chagrin.
Yeah, Nick doesn't have to worry about that in Australia, but shipping the game over the US, boy, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Microware themselves, they were trying to rush OS 9 Level 2 to get out before the end of the first year, like 86, after the CoCo started going on sale in September and October, and I don't think they made it. If I remember, Level 2 didn't actually come out till January, February. Rogue came out with a preview version of OS 9, not the same version that was later the main distribution. It was actually an earlier version, and people were hacking, Kevin Darling and all were hacking the Rogue boot disk just to make boot disks for Level 2, because that's all they had at the time. So they sold a lot of Rogues to the hardcore OS 9 nuts.
Yeah. Well, when I was developing for the CoCo, the beginning of Christmas for me was seeing the catalog. Was, oh, my game's in there, yay. I might actually make some money. And because if the game went in the catalog, you did pretty good. If the stores were willing to put the game into the computer to demo it in the stores, you did even better. That's why all my games had demo modes. I talked to other CoCo programmers, go, oh, what's the use of putting demo mode in? I go,
yeah.
There's a
I think it was the same for me too. Like when the Radio Shack catalog came out, or the computer catalog, the specific one for the computer stuff, you'd always check to see, what new games and new software was out there. And that was like you said, at Christmas and maybe once or twice else during the year, until I discovered some of the third-party magazines like Rainbow and Color Computer News and Color Computer Magazine, Hot CoCo. Because for the first year and a half or so, I didn't know any of that third-party stuff even existed. And then once I discovered, well, then every month was like Christmas, because Tom Mix had a new big ad, Spectral had a new big ad.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd see the ads that they come out like that, but I was always interested to see what direction Tandy was going in, so I could keep up with it. And once in a while, I have to admit, I'd open up that catalog and there'd be a little surprise. Now, they also did a Christmas catalog in the really early days, and eventually that got took over by the computer division and the computer vision. So you would have a special smaller catalog, which was more gifts, and you'd always hope that your game showed up in that gift catalog. It was more of a gift flyer, but still, you always hope for that. And then, of course, you would see those monthly ads that would come out once in a while too, and you'd hope your game's in those ads. And just as much exposure you could get was great.
I don't think I've ever seen the catalog with, CoCo 4 in there. You say that there was they did publish it?
No, I never said CoCo 4.
Deluxe CoCo.
Deluxe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
They have a picture of a deluxe CoCo in one of the catalogs. It was, oops, we forgot to take that out. At least that's my reckoning. I could be mistaken, but I do remember something about that.
Steve, did you ever have any insight into why on earth Tandy did not include a composite input to the CM8 and I mean, just you're making a computer that's supposed to be backwards compatible, and now you've removed all the colors from your old games. I mean, did anyone at Tandy ever kind of talk about
The
that?
CMA was designed strictly for more of a professional situation where you're running an 80-column monitor. They weren't looking back at trying to support old graphics and stuff like that. It was up to us software developers to support it, not the other way around.
All right. Well, there was that Magnavox that came with all the different inputs, which I think is right behind Ron.
Yes.
Yeah, and those are more expensive than the CMA that they have.
Okay. So why did Tandy do that? The answer is
same as always. Cost.
Same as always.
Yeah, Tandy were big penny pinchers. We didn't have lowercase in the Model 1 because they didn't want to include one more memory chip.
That's true.
Would have be priced by a couple bucks.
Yeah, I was going to ask Steve, on your first Model 1, you had no lowercase, right?
Oh, I eventually did.
You eventually did, yeah.
But yeah, it just back in the day when they were doing the Model 1, lowercase wasn't necessary, so why put it in? True, they did save money, but it was considered not needed.
Yeah,
later when they come up with the Model 3, they did.
The Apple didn't have lowercase either. The Apple II.
Yeah. The Apple II didn't. 40 columns and that's it.
Yep. And there's third parties that built lowercase ROMs for the Apple and made 80 column cards.
I used to make a couple of extra bucks putting in what we used to call electric pencil lowercase mods into the Model 1.
Yeah. The other reason why they didn't do lowercase too is those displays weren't that great on the original Model 1. And lowercase characters are harder to read than uppercase.
Smaller, yeah.
Yeah.
And we had lower kits on the CoCo too. I mean, Dennis Bathory Kits got quite famous for his ads.
Right.
Using those.
Okay, well, we're probably getting close to the news type of the show. I don't know how you feel about that, Curtis.
Yeah, we can do that. Did you want to break first? Because I've got a fair bit of stuff to go through.
Let's do a break now. I think that audio's going out over the commercial. So if you're commenting on something, you might want to comment on the commercial rather than side conversations.
Or just comment through the text chat locally on the show.
Yeah, so we might want to keep until I figure out or remember how to stop that. Let's go to a commercial. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi there, this is Mark Overholzer, and you're watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading weekly talk show where you can join in. Hey, come watch us and see what's happening in the world of Coco.
CoCoTALK is brought to you in part by Placeblex Dietary Supplement. Placeblex. We think it works, so will you.
What's going on, everybody? Stevie Stroh, and I want to say thank you for continuing to watch and listen to CoCoTALK. We love doing this show. We think we put together a pretty good show for you, but this show could be better with your help. So if you would like to send a feedback, a comment, a suggestion, a show topic, or maybe even your own little segment or bumper, then send it to us via email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live. This show would be nothing without you. Love to hear from you.
CoCo2, c'est le coq champion, des micros et dans le pion. Pour le jeu, il est pas battant, les études, c'est pas disant. L'expansion, il a ça, les commandes, tu vas ça. Notre CoCo est programmable, pour tes cours, c'est bien serviable. CoCo2 de Radio Chaton, la terre est dans le sac.
Un ordinateur couleur qui a de la personnalité. Le CoCo2 de Radio Shack. On solde pour Noël à partir de 149,95.
CoCo2 de Radio Chaton, la terre est dans le sac, c'est toi et CoCo2.
And we're back, everybody, and someone's doing a drum roll on their microphone.
Thought I'd muted that. Sorry.
What are you getting? You getting anxious for the news? Curtis gets very excited about the news. It's very true. Well, it's that time of the show that everyone's always waiting for because it means we're closer to the end.
Well, except Jim Brain, he's waiting for the end itself. But.
Yes. So we are ready for L. Curtis Boyle. Take it away, Curtis.
Okay, let me get me all sharing up here, and can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay, I'll just make one little quick news bit before I get into the actual news here. I'll just mention the 609, 609 optimized games that have been released the last couple weeks are now all available in the Color Computer Archive. So if you guys want to grab them, or if you haven't got them already, they're all available there.
How would we find them?
Just if you log into the Color Computer Archive, it's the most recent entries.
They're on the homepage, yeah.
Yeah.
And Curtis, did you make a distinction, or did Guillaume make a distinction between the 6309 fast and the 6309 medium speed?
On Xenion? I can't remember if he did or not. I know he differentiated the 6809 optimized versus 6309 optimized, but...
Okay. Well, for those, there is a medium speed of Xenion if your 6309 is going a little too fast.
It's for the people that are old at heart and can't keep up with the game. So.
Hey, I finally beat the game on medium, so, you know.
Yeah. Well, Brian Palmer beat it on fast, so...
Okay. All right. Well, I feel like you're really attacking my accomplishment here.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay.
Because I had to do the extra work to make that extra version just for you. So.
All right. That's right. You did. I appreciate that.
At any rate, here, I'm going to start off with the dragon stuff here first, just because there's a fair number of them this week. He's been busy. That's the same guy, Petsasjim1. So this is one is part of the Horace series. Now, Cuthbert's one of the famous series that was on a lot of the micros in the UK back in the 80s, including the dragon. And Horace was another character that appeared in multiple games, which actually you'll see a few of today. And I think we might have done one before, Horace Goes Skiing or something. I think we did last week. So this first one here is Hungry Horse, which is kind of Pac-Man. And you'll have to let me know if the volume's too loud in there, because YouTube's kind of terrible for that. But it's kind of Pac-Man with some twists. So you're basically in this park or maze. I can't remember what the instructions said. It's kind of weird, but you've got these little bombs you can set off. And you've got these, they're policemen's heads chasing you, basically, or guards, whatever you want to call it. The twist on this over the original Pac-Man is that it's actually multi-screen, but it's not multi-screen as in levels like the original Pac-Man. They actually connect to each other, so you can go side to side between multiple screens as you're going. So it's actually an extended maze. So I'll fast forward to maybe another maze here.
Yeah, another thing is there's dead ends.
Yep. So it's kind of an interesting twist on the Pac-Man theme. I mean, it's fairly close Pac-Man. You're eating dots. You've got the bombs are kind of like the power pills, but having the interconnected mazes was quite different, especially when the time it came out in '83. This would have been a good one to see on the CoCo that I don't think ever came across the pond. So that one.
And that's not a bad color scheme. I mean, it's kind of...
Yeah, this is one of the few that it doesn't look too bad the way he's used the palettes.
Yeah, this one and skiing. Skiing was pretty good.
Yeah.
With the white.
This next one here is one of the later releases. It's from 1987, and it's a text-adventure game. But he actually made a machine language routine to do the text on the graphic screen. So he's basically got a 32 by 24 screen. So he's got more lines vertically, and he's got upper lowercase. So I think we had a few adventure games like that on the CoCo side of things too, but not a lot of them. But it's a really nice, easy to read, especially using the dragon, because it didn't have the artifacting on here. So actually what it came out is, nice clear text. So just a nice text adventure game. Not too much to show there. So.
Uh-oh, it's Horace. He's back. Or I'm thinking of Cuthbert. Cuthbert's always doing stuff.
Horace Goes Skiing is actually an interesting one, too, because it's actually two games in one. There's the skiing game, of course, where the title goes. But before that, you have to kind of play a Frogger game to get to the ski hut to get your skis and then walk back across the road to the ski hill. He's got a quirky little intro song here. I'll just play a few seconds of it. Here comes some stupid YouTube ads.
It's a pretty nice song. Oh.
So there's your Frogger themed one. Then you go into the ski hut. Now you've got your skis you're carrying.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I like when you get hit here, you don't just flatten out. You actually get thrown off the road by the impact, which is kind of interesting.
All right.
I always like that. Anyway, I'll fast forward to the ski part.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where a lot these dragon users have really used these other color modes.
No, notice at the top of the screen it says cash, £20.
Yep.
Not euros or dollars.
That's right.
This is pre-Euro.
So I know
You have the screen between the poles here, just kind of like the 3D scheme we had on the CoCo. But I just like the fact he combined two basic arcade games that exist on their own into one big one. So it's almost like getting a bonus game.
Yeah, and you could. I wonder if you put the double speed poke on this, if it would go faster.
Yeah, I mean, I could 609 this one too, because this is the scrolling. That's exactly what I've been speeding up in the other games, so I could do it on here.
Yeah, I'm afraid of your 6309 version.
And you put double speed and the 639, and it becomes, I don't know, jet skiing or something.
Yeah,
like
well,
that,
the game's over just by hitting enter. It's just over.
But it's a nice game. It's a pretty cool one, having the two games for one type of thing.
Yeah.
This one's called Hornets, and it's kind of an original game. I don't really know how to describe it. You've got a bunch of Hornets, I guess, circling around a box at the top, and then you got to shoot them, and then occasionally you get things to come down. I cleared all these things.
Well, more Puyan colors, but
Well, they didn't have artifacting, so I mean, that was your choice, this or the green one.
That's right.
It basically just repeats. You get multiple Hornets at the top that circle around, and you don't shoot them all in time, more come out.
It's very fast.
Occasionally this thing comes and dive bombs you. So it's kind of original. I don't recall an arcade game that looked exactly like this. So
looks a little more like Centipede, except that they're not linked.
Yeah, and they don't actually come down at you, except for the one triangular doohickey guy.
Whoever invented that sound routine that got used a lot, I want to.
Do you want Ron Delvo to have lunch with them?
Yes, exactly. Thank you for finishing that thought. I didn't want to get violent.
We'll get Ron's people to talk to your people. This next one's called High Low, and it's a basic game. And there was, just like the early days of the CoCo, there was quite a few basic programs that were actually sold commercially. And unlike Steve, I'll skip the directions. And I'm not really sure how to play this game. It's not one I've ever heard of. If anybody else knows.
Can you send me the soundtrack to this? This is beautiful.
Looks like a business game. Probably sell high, buy low.
Could be.
Okay. Can we move on?
You're not excited?
I think I'm going to stab myself in the eye with a dull spoon.
Now, this next one is actually a two-parter. There's two games they sold separately. And this is interesting because I'd never heard this before. This was released not just on the Dragon, but it was also released on the Amstrad CPC, another UK computer. But it actually had a contest, and a fairly lucrative one. You could win a Golden Jeweled Hare, and I'll show you the picture because they actually had it on the box art. They took a photo of it and put it on there. It's actually made of real gold. Or £30,000, which back then was probably about $75,000. And basically you had to solve these weird graphical and text-based riddle puzzles. And then you had to fill in a little card on the tape, and you had to solve both of them. So you had to buy both versions of the game. The Prelude is one, it's called, and the Finale is the other one. And then you would solve it, write down the answers, mail them in, and then you got to draw. As far as I can tell, I think both the Amstrad and the Dragon combined, one person out of all those two groups won the final prize, your choice of the cash or the gold thing. I don't really understand the game too much, so I kind of a little bit beyond me. That's your intro screen.
Yeah. Pretty good artwork.
And then you get all these little weird riddles you got to try to figure out.
So, okay. All right.
So I won't go through the whole thing. I mean, the contest is long over. You can't win the money now, but.
Is it really? Is it over finally?
And then the Finale one, same splash screen, same type of gameplay. I mean, the game itself doesn't look too impressive to me. But this is the artwork for the Prelude version of it. Let me just zoom up to the full size.
Right. Competition.
So that's the actual gold piece of jewelry you could win.
Okay.
And if you look under the competition rules, you can see at the bottom you can win the Golden Jeweled Hare, or if you prefer, 30,000 pounds in cash.
I think I'll take the 30,000. Thank you.
Yeah, so that was rather interesting. I'd never seen anything, especially with that large scale of a prize, in North America before, unless anybody else has. I've seen like little competitions, like I remember DICOM when they released Gates of Delirium. If you solved it, you could win a free CoCo 3, but that's $329 Canadian at the time versus $75,000 for this thing, or if you took the cash prize. So that was kind of interesting to me that somebody put up that much as a prize for a computer game.
Yeah, I think.
And I couldn't find any history on this. I don't know if the person that did finally win, whether they were a Dragon or an Amstrad user, and I don't know if they picked the cash or if they picked the gold. I mean, gold back then compared to what gold is worth now, they might have actually made more money picking the gold for all I know. Next one here is called Hide and Seek. And this is sped up, so you don't have to wait the full 2 minutes and 20 seconds to load.
I do like the warning about how long it'll take.
And it's kind of a jeez. I literally cleared all those off before I joined the show, and now they're all coming back on. So YouTube's getting even more aggressive with their ads now.
I think we need to get you an ad blocker.
So it's kind of the you've probably seen the matching squares one where you try to match the two pictures. So in this case, it does all the pictures at first on this particular version of the two games. There's, like I said, there's two different ones, and then it'll blank them all over, and then it'll pick a random one on the bottom square, and then you have to remember which one it was. So it's kind of a memory game.
Hey,
it's done basic.
Speaking of memory games, just real quick, are you gonna for the match game for Nitrous 9? Are you gonna fix the issue with the mouse for Beta 5?
Refresh my memory. What's the issue with the mouse?
We'll come back to it later. That's fine.
Okay. I can't remember. It's using joystick instead of mouse or something.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll remind you later.
Okay. This one's called 3D OXO, which is 3D tic-tac-toe. I think this is also written in BASIC, but it's pretty nicely presented for a basic game. So fast forward a bit here. That's title screen. Then it does all this typing stuff, which gets annoying with the sound, so I'll skip it. But it's rather nicely presented for a little basic strategy style game.
Mm-hmm.
And you move your little aliens and then place your pieces and fill in the squares, etc.
Okay. 3D tic-tac-toe.
This one I might have shown once before, way a long time ago, but since we're kind of going through all the Dragon stuff in almost alphabetical order from the way Petsasjim1 is putting them out, I thought I'd put it up again, especially for people more recent to the show that haven't seen it. But this is a kind of a semi-3D soccer game. And we're getting heavy breathing again from somebody.
Yes.
Somebody's really excited about soccer. Oh, sorry, football as it's called elsewhere besides North America.
Sometimes it's called footy, so maybe someone's getting a footsie.
But two players, and then scrolling side to side, and
that's not half
it's
bad.
Indoor soccer, so there's no throw-ins, but it's pretty good. It's one of the better sports simulations I've seen on the CoCo 1 and 2 level.
Because we don't have that many soccer games, do we?
I don't know if we had any on the CoCo 1 and 2 besides anything ported over from the UK. We had football, we had baseball, we had tennis, several poorly done golfs.
Yeah,
that little red shirt guy's a pain in the butt, isn't he? Look at him going around and around.
And they even got the shadow on the ball, which is kind of cool. So they actually really thought this one out quite well.
Yep.
Now, if you're into soccer, that's a good one to get.
Yeah.
The next one here is called Interplanetary Trader, and it's a space trading simulation game, which we had tons of, and so did every other platform. But It's got graphics just for this one intro screen, and then it's back to text for the rest of the game. But it's nicely laid out. Like they kept these kind of menu style things rather than just printing raw text. So I thought it was a pretty decent version of one of these types of games. Next one here is Jet Boot Colin from Pocket Money Software, which was kind of the Nova Soft of the UK. It was semi-decent or decent games, but done with a really annoying sound, apparently. But they sold stuff for dirt cheap, like £4 or £5, like $10 or less. I think.
Now this has artifacting, but it's not obviously not displaying, but it does have the vertical lines.
Well, it could be considered artifacting, but he actually just meant it to make it look kind of gray.
Oh, I see.
It wasn't meant to be in color. And basically, you just jet around. You have to get the numbered shapes, which I'm assuming is many, while avoiding everything else. Now, this one is a bit of a mystery to me. I don't know if any of you guys have any background details on it. I'm assuming most of you have seen Module Man by Spectral Associates. It's one of the ones that Stevie presented on the Sound Speech Pack special he did, because it's one of the games that supported it. So Henry Reitfeld has got a video up showing Module Man running on a CoCo and then running on a Dragon, both with speech sound pack. So that's kind of what we've seen before. But there's also a version on the Coleco Atom that adds background music. Have any of you heard of this?
No.
So I'll just fast forward a bit to the gameplay. So if you guys recognize the game there.
I don't. What's the name of the game? Module Man?
Module Man, yeah.
And this is...
When we did a Sound Speech Pack special about a year ago, I guess now. This was one of the ones we featured because it had a few little bits of speech and stuff in it.
And this was this was originally a Dragon game or a CoCo game?
No, originally a CoCo game by Spectral Associates. And then he got ported to the Dragon. So this is the Dragon version, which basically looks the same. Now he's running on a composite NTSC Dragon, so it still has artifacting. Though his 10 controls a little off. Then he fast forwards to the Coleco Atom, which I didn't even know had a version. But this one actually has music. Can you guys hear that, or is it too quiet?
I like its blips better.
I just said I'd never heard of Spectral doing anything for the Atom or ColecoVision before, so this was brand new to me.
What sound chip did the Atom have?
I don't even know. I never had an Atom, so...
Some of my family members did, but they quickly got rid of them for the Commodore 64.
Anyway, I thought that was rather interesting. And then we're talking about Xeneon here. So this video is actually made by Rob Inman, so you can probably describe it in detail more than I can. This was you playing with the medium speed, is that correct?
Yes.
Or is this the fast speed?
No, I think it's the medium. So this is 6309 optimized, but it's running in 6809 mode. Right.
Just with the stack, or just with the memory move instructions enabled.
That's right.
Speed it up somewhat, but not every instruction.
So which put it right about the right speed that I think it's supposed to run at. It would slow down when there'd be a lot of activity going on the screen, especially later in the game.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the 6309 native version would improve that. But for me, I didn't like the 6309 version because the native version, because it was so fast that you couldn't actually get a space between the bombs to actually knock out like the force field and things like that. So the timing was all off. Now that I've beaten the game, can I go back in and maybe play it at the higher speed? Perhaps.
Yeah, I know Brian played it at the full speed. He actually, I think he wrapped it twice or something like that, if I remember correctly.
You're talking about Bryza or Brian?
Yeah.
Brian?
Bryza, yeah.
Oh, Bryza. Yeah. So he played at the full speed?
Yep.
Now I did wrap. I did go to the whatever you want to call it, where it starts over at the beginning. So I just didn't get as far as Bryza. But it does start back over at the beginning after you beat the game, and it mixes up the aliens, so you get a little bit of a different look when you when you loop back around.
Okay. And Nick, are you still on the call? Renties?
Yeah.
Wake up.
'Cause this was actually written by a fellow Australian and sold independently by him before he started selling it through Dicom. Were you ever in contact with him? I know you were in contact with Craig.
I was in contact with him back then, but he's disappeared since then.
Okay.
I have
Bryza
never seen
sent me a message saying he has got in contact with him again.
Yep.
Oh,
recently.
okay.
And Michael Duncan, the author, he has confirmed that he originally developed it for the CoCo 1 and 2, which explains some of the way that the graphics look and some of the masking and some of the
color.
Yeah.
It's 4-color, yeah.
Yeah, and the 4 colors. But I guess he sent, and it blows my mind because it doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess he sent it out, and only the Color Computer 3 version was chosen to be published. But if you look at the Dicom ads, and I could show that, but it basically implies that both versions are available from Dicom.
Yeah, and as far as I know, Dicom only ever sold the CoCo 3 version, so I wouldn't mind seeing the CoCo 1 and 2 version too.
Yeah. Now, why wouldn't you want to sell to the complete marketplace? I don't know, but maybe it was too slow.
It could have been that, or it could have been like Dicom. Xenon was one of the games for the CoCo 3 within the first 2 years of the CoCo 3's release, and people were hungry for CoCo 3 compatible games.
So
that
maybe
used some of
they-
the CoCo
yeah.
3 features. So I think he wanted to grab at that market as much as he could.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually what was happening back in the beginning.
Yeah, because if you were the first out of the gate for this certain type of game for the CoCo 3, then everybody would buy that because there was nothing else available yet. And
Mhm.
you didn't want the primitive CoCo 1 and 2 version at that point. So I think it probably was to help sales at the beginning.
Well, so it'd be cool to see the CoCo 1 and 2 version now, if you can
Yeah,
find
because I could
the-
do some of those same optimizations and actually give it a decent speed. So
Yeah, and then Dragon users might be able to play. And
And Curtis, if you go back to the 6309 optimized fast version, go in there. You should be able to find enough code in there or space in there to put some code in there to force it to synchronize to the VSync. That way, the game will slow down to a slightly, hopefully a better speed or a more playable
consistent.
speed. But then it won't. Yeah, it'll be. It won't slow down as much as well.
yeah,
So,
that means I have to actually disassemble it a lot more than I plan on.
as in,
My whole purpose of the 609 patches was to do quick hacks to get a really good speed boost. So I'm just looking for memory copy routines for scrolling games, basically, is what I was looking for. And those are quick to find. I know I can fit those in a smaller memory footprint or the same size as the originals because the TFM is a very small instruction to set up for.
What did he use originally?
In this case, he was using load D store D, same as color card.
Yeah, so all that code, you've replaced that with a TFM?
Yeah.
Well, there
They had
should
it
be
in the
enough.
loop. Like it wasn't long code in this case. The
No,
stack
but
class
there should
routines
be
usually
enough.
were-
Yeah, there should be enough where you've chopped out a lot or bypassed a lot of that code and put a TFM. That should have left you with enough space to put a sync, some sort of a synchronized to VSync, which is only a few bytes anyway.
Yeah, but
put
then I
that-
also have to find the sound routines and figure out how he did those. Like if those have to be synced too, or if he's got some background thing running.
The way I do the VSync is I poll it. I don't talk to the interrupt routine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I can send you that
Yeah,
bit
if
of
I
code.
decide I have a lot of time to waste, I might try that again. Who knows?
No, nothing but.
Or I could just send you where I patch it. You could do that part.
No, I'm too busy.
Although
I'm too busy doing real programs.
But Curtis, what about a game like Contras? Is that something that could be improved?
I have to take a look at Contras. I've got a list of about 15 other games I want to try. There's a few I did take a look through. Some of them actually don't have scrolling routines that I thought would, like Devious. It doesn't. It redraws lines every time. And I didn't feel like, trying to figure out how those line routines worked and where they were and everything else. So I did do a patch to Gauntlet 2 that's slightly faster, though. David Ladd, if you're still on the call, I gave you the 2 videos to see if you could try to sync because I had to hand record them. But the speed up was very negligible. I thought it was going to be a bit more than that. I'd have to enable native mode on top of the patches I did.
And what's the game where Beware I Live? What's that?
Sinistar, that's another one that's on my list to check.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few others, Draconian and a few others there, but I'm trying to get back to EOU first and try to get that done, and then maybe I'll sneak in another. I'll be like Nick, I'll have these distraction projects, which is what this was.
Okay.
And I was waiting to hear back from Bill on some of the Nitrous 9 changes we're doing here, and he was busy, so I decided, I'll do this in the meantime, because I've been thinking about doing this for years.
Yeah, and
Never got to it, so.
Paul Shoemaker joined, and Paul, don't go anywhere because I think we want to talk to you about some of your projects.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I do have one comment that I wanted to add about speeding up games like that. You got to remember, us game designers, we designed the game to run a particular speed.
Or I should say, most of us game designers designed it that way. So, oh yeah, we'll make it run twice as fast. Well, you just made it 4 times harder.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if you look at these little in the game below, I don't know what you call them, these missile silos that open and close. And when they're going so fast that you can't even get your ship over to actually shoot, because they're just flying at you so fast that you'll get hit by 3 or 4 of those missiles in a row and you'll die. So that's where it gets to be very difficult.
Yeah. And also, though, some CoCo authors did try to do games a bit beyond their capability or a bit beyond the CoCo's capability. And one Steve Bjork actually specifically mentioned in an interview with Rainbow when the CoCo 3 got released was Marble Madness, one of the ones I optimized, actually, by Diecom, because he said it was a little bit too slow on the CoCo 1 too, but now with the double speed poke in the CoCo 3, I think you said you had a grand old time playing it or something, I think was the quote.
Exactly.
So there are some that it does to help.
Well, that's the thing, is you're definitely dealing with, I want to do all this graphics, I want to do all this stuff, and the CoCo's just not quite able to do that. Well, then in your routines, you have the guy step a little farther each time. And like that, of course, then when you speed it up, the guy's just racing across the screen. You just can't control it. A little bit like what happens in Canyon Climber on the higher levels.
Yeah. Marble Madness, though, doesn't speed up. It just gets more complicated with more foes to get around and not die with. So it was a good one to do the speed up on, where it works pretty good.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, there was a couple games that I probably wouldn't bother, that I probably could speed up because they're already running plenty fast. Time Bandit would be a good one, as an example. If that one running twice as fast as it is now, I don't think would be playable. Okay, next up here is...
Sorry, can you? Destiny is messaging us. Can we talk to her? No.
Yeah, no, that's a friend of the family.
Oh, okay.
So the next one here is Lee Perkins has been trying to do basically, he wants to convert a PC game that has the full 16 color ANSI and the full IBM character set. And of course, we don't have an equivalent. Our hardware character set doesn't have any of the special IBM characters. And we don't have all the colors. You're only allowed 8 foreground, 8 background. So I turned him on to Twilight Terminal, which is a program that Sockmaster did that actually page flips between 3 640 wide screens and 4 colors on each, with dithered text that it alternates which pixels are dithered on each screen as the page flips to actually get all these colors. And he's been working on this over the week, talking to Sockmaster, and he's actually basically got it working now. He's got a quick little video demonstration here. You can see some of the special characters, the cross hatches and stuff like that with the color. And you get a bit of a shimmer, but it's nowhere near as bad as it would be with raw page flipping, which flickers like mad. So it's a really good technique that Sock came up with. And now he's got 20 colors to play with and the full ANSI character set. So I'm looking forward to the game he's actually going to be porting over here using that.
Yeah, so what kind of game is he going to do then? Like what?
Did he mention up here? I think he just mentioned he's doing it for a game.
You know, he asked about a sort of a dungeon crawler game that was done in just 80 column ASCII text on an IBM PC way back when. I can't remember the name of it, but I assumed that's what he was trying to do this for.
Oh, could be. But if you go through his Facebook, you can actually see how as he progressed, because his first couple of attempts there were not very, very good. They were flickering like mad, or
now
here's an example. You can just see how bad that looks on the dimmer colors.
Is the Gimme X gonna have a mode then that will prevent you from having to do this?
It's got higher color modes. If I had the full details on the Gimme X, I could tell you, but I don't at this point.
Okay, and then can you do this in OS 9?
Yeah, you can page flip between three screens. I mean, my bouncing ball demo's page flipping 2 screens.
Okay.
And I know we've got the image scan or the view program that views Nick Marenti's created IMG files from his RASCAN. Actually had his 4096 color mode, as he called it, which page flip between 3.
Okay.
So yeah, you can.
Yes, you can. That's my new hashtag for OS9. Yes.
And then Jim Garrier is working on a port of the game called Maze of Argon from the VZ200, which I think was also VDG based, like the CoCo and MC10 are. But he's working on a 3D maze routine. So I'll just fast forward a little bit here.
And so you're helping him on this, right?
Not this one. I was helping him on a Calabeth.
Okay.
Which actually is high res and requires the MCX 128 and. But this is just using stock, MC10 graphics modes. It's not too bad though. It gives you the effective, illusion of 3D in low res. Now this one I have to ask you guys about too. Henry Redfeld posted 2 other videos yesterday, I think it was, which was a complete surprise to me. Apparently there's ports of 2 Intellivision games to the CoCo he's running here. Night Stalker and Astro Smash, which I have never seen before. They're not on the archive. I don't know where to download them. I actually sent him a question on the YouTube comments to say, where do you get these things? And he hasn't answered me. So I'm wondering, did he do this as a joke and he actually hooked up something else to the CM8 to do this? Or is this actually a port that we have? Have any of you seen these?
I have not.
No.
And
that's really close to the Intellivision.
Oh.
Or has he written an emulator? Transcode.
I have no idea. He hasn't answered me, so I couldn't even tell you.
Because that looks like a very CoCo 2 PMODE 4 screen.
Yeah. I mean, there's no color unlike the Intellivision version.
And the
Intellivision was also low res, so.
It was lower res and a slower CPU, wasn't it?
Yes. Though it did have a sound chip.
Yeah, but he hasn't emulated that.
But like it's got even the smooth running that the original. I remember seeing this at the day because most people did your walking people is very like 3 frames or something, and this is a much smoother animation of the running and stuff. It's almost Prince of Persia early version type thing.
Okay, so Paul Fiscarelli saying something in the chat. It's part of the AGD games, I guess.
I don't remember seeing it in AGD games.
I don't think so.
What do you
It
say?
does look almost like an AGD engine, but I don't remember seeing these on there unless somebody's done it after the fact.
It actually says Intellivision at the start.
Yeah.
That's why I think it could be a transcode.
Paul is very firmly saying that these are part of the AGD game, so I think you're calling him a liar.
Can he let us know which group of AG games it's in? Because there's been so many of them packs out. So I wouldn't mind seeing them. I don't remember seeing it when we went through them all, but I might have missed it.
All right, well.
And this one, I think I actually came with the Intellivision at one point, so I think a lot of people have seen this one before.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So we'll have to check the AGD and the World of Dragon archive.
Yeah, if he can actually give us a direct link to the particular pack that has it, I would love to see that. And I was hoping Rick was going to be on today to talk about this, but unfortunately he's not. He's been working on the new sequel to Temple of Ram, where he's going to make larger mazes. He's adding some more monsters. So the top screenshot here, it just shows basic data statements, double byte assembly language code with some of the color codes here, and then he's got a little demo video showing one of the new monsters coming on the screen.
Yes, that's very scary. And again,
he's got a demented mad ghost, and he's also got a skull he's adding in too. So.
And as with most things in Temple of Ram, it doesn't scroll. You have to walk very far across the screen for the scroll to happen, which means you don't see what's coming next. So then the ghost jumps out.
Yeah, it's even more challenging.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to skip in the news a little bit here. I'll save the Stevie stuff for the end. So I'll go here. Run Dino Run, which was a team up between Paul Fiscarelli and Simon Jonason. They've actually released the source code now. So if you go onto GitHub on their account, you can get the complete commented source code for that game, including the 3-voice music player that runs in the background and all the graphics and the game itself. So if anybody wants to modify it or just learn how they did it, here you go.
I wonder if they'll make it for the 1 and 2.
They wouldn't be able to do the music routine the way they are now. That's the
Yeah.
one thing. They require the
wouldn't matter.
interrupt to do it. So you'd have to drop that or simplify it greatly. And this one here is basically the next episode of the CoCo game, or CoCo show on the Amigos guys. It's actually been recorded last night. I didn't get a chance to check this morning before I got back to the show, but as of last night, they hadn't split it out onto its own separate thing because they ran 3 of the shows together. So they were reviewing Time Bandit, and then they reviewed Thexter. They both really like Time Bandit, especially considering the era it was and the fact that it predated Gauntlet by 2 years.
That's
even though
awesome.
people
I
that
thought
saw
that
the
was
later
awesome.
Atari ST version
That's really neat.
thought it was
So,
a clone of Gauntlet.
what do you got?
Actually, it
This is
predates
a
Gauntlet.
one.
And then they did a review of Thexter a little bit later on,
Now,
which
so
was mixed reviews
let's
between the
talk
two of them.
about
One of them
Dexter.
didn't mind it too
Now,
much.
this
The
is
others
another
thought it
game. I
was
don't think you played this
not
one
as
in
good.
the
I won't
No, I
spoil
never
who
played
did
it. I've
what here,
played this
but
on a couple systems.
it's pretty decent. It's nice to see them getting the new content. They did one of my picks for the upcoming one, and they're going to be doing Phantom Slayer as one of the 2 games for the next episode. And they're, as I mentioned, I think last week, they're actually got enough Patreon subscribers now that they're actually doing it twice a month.
Yeah, they have a really good rapport. They keep things moving. They have a, you know, it's
They
very
do some research ahead of time to figure out some of the details. You know, they're
Yeah.
like the complete opposite of our show.
yeah.
You know,
It's
good rapport. They keep things moving. They research their stuff.
Yeah. And Paul Fiscarelli posted a link to the Color Computer Archive that has the AGT games with those ZX Spectrum ports.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out because I guess I just completely forgot they were there.
It is very interesting watching the Amigos because the guy on the left there, and I forgive me if you guys are watching, I just forget the names, but the guy on the left didn't have the CoCo, and so he was commenting that Thexter was very out of date by 1988. But you were mentioning in the chat, Curtis, that Thexter actually came out many years before.
Yeah, it came out in '85 originally on some of the Japanese systems. It came out on the CoCo in '88.
So yeah, the Color Computer 3 was getting a lot of kind of last minute hand-me-downs as Tandy finally started licensing, official games. RoboCop, Predator. A lot of these games had come out several years before.
Yeah, the CoCo 3, they actually started licensing a fair bit. I mean, Steve was involved with some of them too, like Rampage. But the CoCo 1 and 2 era, there was like Zaxxon, Puyan, and then Moon Shuttle and Frogger, which weren't sold at Radio Shack, and that was pretty well lit. I guess Poltergeist is an officially licensed property. But as far as arcade ports or something, that was pretty well lit, and not even a lot of cross-platform games that they did back then. Some of the educational stuff, I guess, like some of the Sierras, Donald Duck's Playground stuff was cross-licensed. But
yeah, with Dexter, I don't know if the other platforms had different control schemes because I never played any other version, but they were commenting how when you transform into the ship and then you hit a wall, you automatically transform back into the robot, and it's very annoying. And I remember that being an issue for me when I was a kid playing it, which they could have created a dedicated key, in order.
Yeah, like the Shields key.
Yeah, exactly.
I got used to it, so I wasn't too bad at playing it back in the day, but yeah, it could have used some improvement. I think it was rushed. I think they originally planned to make it a disc game with more of the levels like the other versions had, but then they decided to settle on a cartridge because then it would fit on 128K. People wouldn't have to have disk drives to run it, so their market was a lot bigger. So they had to cram it into a 32K cartridge because this is before they started doing the quote-unquote super cartridges with MMU units built into them like RoboCop and Predator did it.
Of course,
this is one that really could have used it.
Yep. Well, now we have the OS 9 version, which is so much faster, and of course you could add additional levels if somebody was enterprising enough to continue developing on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some other features we added on it too, like you can start at any level of the 5 levels. You can make yourself immortal so you never die.
What's the level command to start at? If I wanted to start at level 5, how do I do that in ease of use?
Well, if you're double clicking it on the icon, it won't because I didn't make it an option
right
there. But if you run it from the command line, you just do dash. Well, just do dash question mark. It gives you a complete list of the help. All the commands we've had.
Okay, I don't recall that.
And by we, I mean Alan DeCock. I didn't have anything to do with it except playtest.
Okay.
Okay, so look forward to the separate version of just the CoCo show by itself, because in this case here, you have to scroll through 2 hours of the other 2 shows to get up to it. They got the Amigo show and then the Sinclair show first. But the separate version will be coming up probably later this week, I'm guessing, on YouTube. And then the last 2 I have here, Stevie recorded some stuff before he headed out to Georgia on Friday. His first one was Project Update, which is he was trying to source out plastic replacement pens for the koala pad, because a lot of koala pads that you find on eBay and stuff, the pen's long gone. I won't play the whole thing here.
Dudes and dudettes, it's me, Stevie Stroh.
But basically, he did find some. They're $1 each plus shipping,
Pencil.
and they seem to
it's
work
hard to
okay. He
find
did
these.
some tests with a little.
Now going to help me speed up. At 0, 0, I can kind of sort of go across here. I should be able to get all the way over to 63 if I jump to the hard right. And if
So
I
just
go
out of curiosity,
down,
how many people here on the
I should
panel
stay
actually
at
have koala pads?
63 and reach 63. And
I
reach
don't anymore, but I certainly
can
wish
go from 0, 0,
I still
which is
did.
the top left corner,
I went for the Commodore
to
64.
63, 63, which is the bottom
Got
right
2 of
corner. So I can get all of the
Oh, you're
full
hoarding.
coordinates on my X-Pad.
You know, I wonder if
Keep
you
saying
can
X-Pad,
still
but it's a
find
koala
those
pad.
for that
The
dollar
one thing that is
piece.
a little bit wonky, and I don't know if this is my tablet surface or if this is the stylus, because maybe my surface is a little bumpy because it's 40 years old.
Yeah, it seems to
But the
jitter a
minute
bit, and I
try
don't
to
know if
start
that's the
coloring
stylus
now,
or the surface, as he's
let's
saying,
say
or
I
just
go
the
over
fact
here,
the koala pad wasn't the greatest
and I just
device
hit,
or not. But
color 2.
if you have
and I
one, though,
wanna
at least
try
you
to
now you can get
draw a
replacement
straight
pens, and
line
they're cheap.
across. One of the things you'll see here is that
So
I
we'll
don't
post a link for the full video for that. And then he did his playthrough of the 6 through 9 games here, with some commentary on it. I think it was on Gantlet. He was saying that it still's jerky, and that's just the way it was programmed. I mean, there's not much I can do unless I rewrote Dave Dye's original routines. Because basically, when your guy hits the edge of the screen scrolling, it shifts the scene over and then moves your guy with it, and then it shoves your guy back, so it looks like he's bumping back and forth as he's walking. And we've kind of seen videos on this stuff before, so I'll just show and grab Gantlet here so you guys can see the effect he was talking about.
Oh man, that rock came out of nowhere. Sucker.
I gotta move this out of the way for a second, see what I'm doing. It's touchstone.
Crikey. Crikey.
Yep. I've never actually played color car action. I'm looking forward to that.
The bone pile leaves a little.
I can
bit
see
to
the little,
imagination.
jerking back and forth the guy does when it's scrolling. I guess he thought I was going to smooth that out too, but just
Seems like
changing
all
the
the
scroll routine
stones
doesn't
look
fix
exactly
that.
the same,
But
like
it is
it
running.
hasn't,
This is one that actually I think I was most impressed with the
hasn't
speed up,
buried the stones for
because it's
different
literally
levels.
running almost twice as fast. It's almost CoCo 3 speeds. And if you add the CoCo 3 poke on top of it, then it really runs fast. And it does lag when it gets filled with monsters, because that's just the limitation of the
so now this
0.85
is
micro
starting
CPU,
to
no matter
show
what kind it
some
is.
wear and tear here. I got a lot of objects on the screen, but scrolling is kind of.
But it's definitely better than it was. So anyway, he did about 20 minutes of reviewing all those. So, and I think I had a last minute addition that Al Hartman threw in. So maybe Al can talk about it a bit more, because I didn't get a chance to really research it. But I think it's a drive wire server that actually runs on the model 1, 3, and 4. Al, any comments? Or did he drop off?
I think we lost Al.
I see him there.
We put the poor guy to sleep.
Maybe he got beamed up.
All right. Well,
Yeah, at any rate, my understanding is that basically there's a drive wire compatible server, so you can use the drive wire server software you have now, and you can actually serve files to a model 1, 3, or 4. If I'm understanding right, but hopefully if he comes back on later, he can clarify that.
okay. Well, if this is a good point, we can cut over to Paul Shoemaker. I don't know if we want to take a break first, or we want to go right to Paul. What do you think?
I think we can go right to Paul. How long
Okay.
is your presentation, Paul?
I have no
It's kind of news,
presentation.
so we might as well include it with the news section.
Yeah, it's newsy. I just Paul has a lot going on, and we haven't been able to talk to him. And I know a couple of other shows he popped in and popped out before we could kind of ask him. Paul, how are your projects going, particularly Oregon Trail? Anything else that you wanted to kind of cover?
It's going okay. And so what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks is just kind of working on the assembly language subroutines, which I have to reverse engineer. Because you remember that although I said that the Apple version of Oregon Trail is a mix of basic and assembly, and the basic listings are out there. I've downloaded them and printed them out, and I use them as the basis of the basic program for the CoCo as well. But the assembly language subroutines, I don't know how to get to those, and even if I saw them, I don't know that I would know how to do anything with them in Apple Assembly. So I've been just reverse engineering it by watching on the emulator and then determining kind of what's happening. So I've actually got it playing behind me if you guys can kind of see it. And what I've managed to figure out how to do is most of the major portions of just sort of the travel screen. So I have the wagon, and it is animated, and it actually has 3 different pictures of the wheels turning. So it cycles through 3 of those, and then there's the graphic of the wagon when it crashes. You know, it loses its front wheels, and then there's the one where it catches on fire. So I have all of those in there. And then a couple weeks ago, I haven't actually been working on it for a while, but a couple of weeks ago, I managed to figure out how to do the scrolling of the landmarks, which you can see behind me. There's the castle, I don't know what Chimney Rock one, by half bits. And so I got some help from Simon. I got some suggestions and input from some folks, and so I was able to figure out how to make it move across the screen in 4-bit increments instead of 1-byte increments, and so it moves a little bit smoother and is probably closer to the way that the Apple works. I still have to modify the subassembly routine that does the wagon. I'm going to use that to also put the various sprites that can occur, like if you run into a winter like blizzard, then it pops up a snow cloud. So I have to figure out, you know, I have to make it put those where I want them to put it as well. And that's about where I'm at right now. I'll tell you guys where I'm stuck, and maybe you guys have some suggestions. The way that the Apple version works is it's got the main program, if you think of it like the hub program of Oregon Trail, and then as you encounter different things, like you come to the river and you need to cross, or you decide to go hunting or whatever, it actually appends a whole nother set of code at the end. So it always starts at, I don't know, line 40,000 or something. And whenever you come to that event, what it does is it loads that code in and basically overwrites from line 40,000 all the way to whatever. And of course, in the CoCo, when you append something, you can do the append (R), but it will rerun the entire program starting at the very beginning. I haven't quite figured out a way to mimic that capability that the Apple has. And it may be that the Apple also doesn't do that natively, and they figured out some creative way to do it using assembly language or something. I did go back and look at some of the Delphi archives, and found that there was a discussion that had happened, 100 years ago when someone else was thinking about trying to append, and the suggestion that I thought was clever, I haven't tried it yet, was when you append from line 40,000 on, you append a line 1 or line 0 that says go to line 40,000, and so when you rerun it, you've actually added a line at the very beginning of your code that jumps to where you want to do it. So I think that could work, but I haven't quite got my brain wrapped around how to keep that from messing the whole thing up when I need it to just run normally or whatever.
One of the tricks I would probably think about is, because some people have been like taking basic programs that are tokenized and putting them into ROM cartridges. Like for instance, with your program, find out where the line 40,000 starts in RAM.
Yeah.
And then do like a save them, and then just basically just use the load them command and load in the machine language stuff at that point. Of course, you'd have to, because then you're just replacing the basic tokens in memory as it's still active.
Okay. I follow the logic.
It's kind of hackish, but that's probably what they did on the Apple.
Maybe. The basic assembly, or the basic listing, excuse me, for the Apple one is, lots of it is very clear and easy to follow, and then some of it is, I don't, like I went and got some, looked at some Apple Basic books. I can't tell what those commands are. I don't know if they're real commands or if they have something, or they've actually created some specialized commands that they're executing in Basic. I'm not sure. But that's a good idea. I'll think about how to do that.
The Apple Basic can't really be patched like the CoCo 3 can, but the DOS basically interrupts the input vector and vectors it through DOS and then back to Basic. So theoretically, you could like add a DOS command that would do something. But they would have to do something to patch the DOS to make that happen.
Okay.
Do you remember what kind of commands you're talking about there? Like, are they calls or shape tables?
No, it's not a call. It's like one of them actually says like APD or APND, which I assumed was the subroutine that was appending the files, but
yeah, it doesn't.
See if I can find it.
Yeah, I don't think that's standard Basic. Not that.
Yeah,
mind you, my Apple II is pretty rusty.
It didn't look like standard Basic to me, but I could be wrong.
So they could be doing, Marcus said, like ADOS and a few other things did that too, where they append new commands to the Basic command table by intercepting all the hooks, and you go to your stuff first, then you drop back to Basic. If it doesn't exist in your code, then it goes and finds the command, disk Basic, then extended Basic, then color Basic.
Right.
Also,
right. So that's where I'm stuck right now, is trying to figure out how to make. Because it's a much bigger program than will fit in memory, and I had toyed with the idea of just having it only work on the CoCo 3, where I might be able to, utilize some of the extra memory by bank switching or something. But I really wanted it to work on a CoCo 1 and 2, since I'm sort of writing it for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am right now. I can't. So, for example, they have a couple.
A private message, Paul, about chaining AppleSoft programs.
Okay.
And I'll post it also here for everybody else.
I appreciate it. So they have a command called box, and before these, what I believe are not actual Apple basic commands, there's a little ampersand sign. What does the ampersand sign do?
Ah, yes, the ampersand. That is a hook that can vector to a machine language routine. So they're loading some sort of machine language helper, and then they put the ampersand, they put command before or after it, I guess. And so what happens when it vectors there, then it figures out what line it was on and reads the parameters to do stuff.
Okay.
It's a machine language hook other than using like call or USR.
Okay, because there's some calls in here too, so they're doing a little bit of both, it sounds like.
A lot of times the calls are directly into the ROM for things like clearing the screen or maybe graphic initialization. A lot of times instead of writing their own code for like clearing the high-res screen or whatever.
62454, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I went and found this, if you guys can see it.
Beagle Brothers. Yep.
Yeah, the Beagle Brothers stuff that has a ton of calls and commands for the Apple to help me to try to decipher what's going on in some of this code. But the ampersand being a hook to a machine language code or assembly language subroutine, that makes good sense to me. So,
is that kind of like our USR statement there, Mark?
Yes. Let's see. Yeah, it'd be like USR. USR though is like a user function. It's I think actually a little bit more primitive because you have to set it up yourself. It's not like it has basic commands to set it up for you.
Yeah, well, USR you can tell it to pass parameters to it and receive parameters back. That's one nice thing you can if you set.
Yeah, but it's nice how it's all done in basic. Yeah, the ampersand one is much more primitive because your routine basically you have to have a handler that it vectors to and then figures out where the parameters are by figuring out what line you were on, so it can then read the parameters and then do what it needs to. So it's a little bit more primitive.
Well, what they've written here is really amazing, and the creativity that they have to work around the memory limitations to load what they need as they need it, and to load it right over the code seamlessly, where you can't even. There's no insert the next disk or any of the rest of that stuff. It's It's really
Yeah, it's kind of like load your own subroutine every time you need one.
yeah. And so it's pretty cool, but that's kind of where I'm stuck right now.
I could tell you how to do that in Basic 09, but in Standard Basic, I have no idea.
Well, thanks anyways. I also saw, looking at some of the Delphi archives, is that somebody had suggested that there was a way you could use pokes and peeks that figure out kind of where it may be a very similar approach, but not using tokenized loadems, but you could do a peek of some value that would tell you sort of where your program started and stopped, and then you could poke in a different value, load what you needed to do, and then restore what you had peaked before, and somehow that magically works as well. But that's something I haven't quite figured out yet either.
Paul, I'm trying to remember if you do a peak 25 and 26, I think that's the start address of your basic program, if I remember.
Yeah, that's it. So the solution is in all of that someplace. I just have to figure that out. Once I figured that piece out, it's going to be just porting the code from that point on. I think those are the major sort of roadblocks that I'm running into at this point.
Well, a couple of things. We have the Oregon Trail channel on Discord and some very smart people who, if you think of it and you're, I believe you're on the Discord server. You could post some of these on the channel.
I will.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's the only project I'm working on right now. I have I've started thinking about kind of my next project, which is what I do. I get partially into one and then I start working on something else, and maybe I'll come back.
We call them distractions.
Yes. I have tons of distractions. Do you guys remember a submarine game that I think was written primarily in BASIC, and I played it first on PC DOS or MS DOS, called Goto? It was.
Yes, I do.
Mark?
I do.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun, and I remember playing a lot of that game, and so I thought that one seems eminently portable in the realm of stuff that I'm capable of doing. BASIC with assembly language subroutines. So I think I've got an earmark on my next project after this one will get done. But I'm going to finish this one, but it's probably 3 months away.
I see Mark's holding up. You'll have to zoom up on him there to show the cover.
I have an original I acquired from somebody and the Disk Sim manual.
That's it. It's a really fun submarine game, and I remember I played it as a kid, and a lot of the naval simulators that were just too hard for me to figure out, and it was hard to keep my interest because they were too hard to figure out. That one had a nice mix of not so difficult to play, but some strategic elements to it. So
yeah, Sub-Battle Simulator, I mean, it's called a simulator for a reason.
Yeah.
It's pretty complex.
Yeah. You either really like simulators or you don't, and I think I kind of really don't like them. So that one might be my next project. And then the other day I bought from John Linville, and I put it together, but I haven't used it yet, is his Game Master cartridge. So he was kind enough to sell me a kit, which is really cool because I like putting these things together. So cool. I have put it together over the weekend, not over the weekend, a couple days ago, and then I will see if I can get some audio out of this one too.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a neat little piece of hardware.
Yeah, more support for all the sound options, the better. It's we're starting to get some. We've seen a few games. You've mentioned yours, and we've seen who's doing the game on Discord. That Steve Anscombe, is that his name? Doing I can't pronounce it.
Xerxes Island. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's doing full support for it too. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
That went over very well at BCF West. A lot of people really attracted to it.
If only we had a real-time clock.
So the other thing that since we were talking about games, the GMC has the same chip that the Coleco Atom has. So therefore, if someone wanted to take up the task of patching the Module Man for the CoCo, well, there you go. You could pull
you're volunteering, right, Dave? Is that what you're saying?
Nope. I'm saying someone that actually knows how to do programming worth a darn.
Paul, any updates on? That's a good point about the Coleco Atom sound chip being in the GMC. And Paul, any update on Dungeon Crawl? Do we have do you have a Christmas pack for the holidays? If we want a physical Dungeon Crawl disc.
No, a Dungeon Crawl. Yeah, that's an interesting topic. I'm not selling Dungeon Crawl any longer, and the reason it's a bummer. I'm really bummed about it. I actually had created a bunch more packets ready to go. I've actually been working on it, or I had been working on it a little bit more, adding some additional features like the ability to load a character, not just use one primary or create a new one, and a couple of other features as well. But I'm not able to sell it any longer. I'm not able to offer it any longer. And the reason for that is when I created the game, and it's based on Telengard. I mean, it is basically Telengard reskinned for the most part. The graphics that I used for the actual 2D top-down dungeon, I found a tile set on, I don't remember where I found it from. I was just searching one night. I found a photo or a screenshot of a tile set that was a mock-up, and so I copied that screenshot, and then I basically designed my graphics that I use, the tile set that I use. I used I would say about half of the tile sets that I use in that game are from that screenshot. And it turns out that the screenshot that I took was a screenshot taken from a quite talented graphics artist who goes by the name of Pixelcast, or Castpixel, excuse me, Castpixel. And she contacted me and was like, "Hey, you're using my stuff." And I didn't realize it. I didn't intend to use her stuff, but we agreed that, yeah, I didn't ask her. I didn't license it. I certainly didn't let her know. And so what we ended up doing is I agreed that I wouldn't offer it any longer. And the amount of money that I did earn from selling copies, I ended up splitting it with her and sending her half of that. So it was a bit of a bummer, but it was totally my fault. I mean, I should have tracked her down, and it wasn't too hard to connect her to that once I went out and started looking after she sent me the email. And so, I mean, she was right in being upset about it, and I tried to make it right as much as I could by letting her know that, by sharing half of the profits with her. And it's not like, I mean, it was a couple $100. It wasn't that much, right? But it was still the principle of it, I think, for her, and so that's why I've stopped.
Well, is there any chance of having somebody else in the CoCo community designing new graphics for it, that you could start selling it again once it's original, quote unquote?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the only sort of sticking point was the fact that it was based heavily off of a tile set that she created. And evidently she does this sort of freelance work, and she created it for somebody, and then they didn't end up using it or needing it. So it's not like there's another game out there that looks just like that. It's just got this one mock-up screen that she has that she created at the behest of somebody else. And so it was a little bit of, I created this, and then I created this for somebody else who just hasn't done anything with it, but it's still theirs.
Now you could maybe load it into a tile editor and change that. Is it just the tiles?
It's just the tiles.
Yeah. Seems like
that, or just give specs like on Discord or Facebook. Just put, the size of the tiles is so many pixels by so many pixels, and if somebody could redesign and then list what tiles you need, like a straight floor with a wall on the north side, or whatever tiles you specifically need.
Yeah.
And then just ask some of our more artistic community members here to come up, because we got some pretty good graphics artists. I've got some pretty good icons out of Nick and Rob already for the next DOU release.
Yep.
We do have some people here that know what they're doing on that type of stuff, so maybe we can get a re-release with fixed up graphics.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
And there's a free tile editor that actually Chet Simpson uses, but I had learned about it before I knew Chet was using it. It's called Map. It's at mapeditor.org, and I'll post it in the chat. And perhaps if you did release the specs for the tiles, we could play around with creating new ones for you.
Cool. I will give that a ton of consideration because I would like the game to be out there and playable again. And as I said, I have been actually tweaking and improving it in some areas. So it'd be great to be able to keep putting it out there.
It's too bad she doesn't sound like she was amenable to you doing a splitting the profit in the future thing. It sounded like this was just to fix the wrong in the past. But then she doesn't want you to sell it anymore past that with her graphics.
I didn't ask her about that specifically, and mostly, I mean, I think the way that it ended was good, and I didn't want to. I had thought about that. Yeah, I didn't want to push my luck, right? I didn't want it to turn into something bigger than it was already.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was a bit of drama that went on, and it was
unintentional drama.
Unintentional drama, and it's been a couple 3 months, but if anybody has been paying attention, the sites where it was posted, I asked them to take it down and all the rest of that. And I had even thought about the possibility of just, if it was a concern around me making money off something that she created, I had thought about the possibility of just offering it for free. And then I thought, well, there's a bunch of people who actually bought it. I don't know that they would want to suddenly know that anybody else could have gotten it for free.
Yeah,
So
and she might have, because it's her work anyway, she might figure she still needs to get paid, which just means you'd be going into the negative. So
yeah,
It's up to
I
her
sort of
if
went
she's
to the
kind of a
negative
copyright
anyway.
holder.
Yeah. It's not like I made a lot of money on that. And as I was creating I sold it for what it cost me to put the packages together and all the floppy disks and everything. I wasn't making any money. I was basically almost breaking even on it anyway. So, but it's all good. Lesson learned.
Lesson learned. Sounds like you handled it well, and maybe there's a future contest for the community to participate.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, we definitely have some good graphics artists in the community. I mean, we've seen some of the tiles that were done for Chet's Digger 3 game and stuff too. So
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for the update, Paul. We're very excited to hear what comes next. And if there's any other graphic artists that you plan to rip off, please let us know and announce it.
No, you have to be sneaky about that stuff. I wasn't near sneaky enough.
I'm just kidding.
I'll tell you right now, I will give you permission to use the trash can icon that Nick said.
That's right.
For eyes of use. So.
Hey, hang on. I'm still waiting for payment on that.
Yes, and anyone here is welcome to port Gunstar to OS 9. Just contact me.
I've had it done for months. I'm just waiting for Nick to release his. Jeez. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, do we want to maybe take one break, or we actually could do the outro and come back for final thoughts?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
I don't think, unless anybody else has anything else they want to mention.
Is there a Gimes for this for today?
A what?
A Gimes.
Oh, well, I don't think there's a brand new Gimes, and Ken, if you're out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but why don't we play a Gimes that I like, and then we'll go right into the outro, come back for final thoughts. So everyone, be on your best behavior during the break, because I think audio is going through. Here we go. CoCo Thoughts, lucky number 13.
And now, CoCo Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. Many people think 13 is an unlucky number, but I'm not superstitious. This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at cocotalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click the Patreon link at our website at CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the tiny flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
CoCoTalk would not exist without the community, its cast, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Tom C., Rob Inman, Mark Bosley, Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, David O'Connor, Brian Weasler, Terry Steggy, Nick Marotta, John Strong, and many more, especially to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and James Differendaffer for making my head explode. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its various contributors. A list of resources is available at imacoconut.com. That's IMACOCONUT.com. The CoCoTalk theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore.
And we're back. Let's thank some of the people in the live chat. Matchy just joined us or has been out there. How you doing? Ken Reichert says, tile editor for your operating system of choice. Nick Marotta is out there in the chat. Curtis Boyle, Steve Strobridge, Mark D. Overholzer, Paul Fiscarelli, telling us where we can find the television ports, and so many more. The list goes on and on. Any last words before we go? I'll open up the floor.
You're looking a little pale there, Rob.
Yeah, can anyone tell me if I'm in black and white or not?
Yes, you're black and white, sir. You're very 1940s.
Unliving black and white.
What I'd really like is a PMODE 4 with 2 artifact colors. I think that would be appropriate.
I call it grayscale or Rob Noir.
Yes. I'm artifact colors on a dragon right now.
Monochromatic.
That's right. The best part of the show, says Grant Leedy, is the end. I think who couldn't agree with that? It's been a wonderful 2.5 hours.
Yes, it has.
Yes, it has. Take us out, David Ladd.
All right, everyone. It's been exciting to have you with us. Let's all get ready for the weekend.
Thank you to
Good
David
night.
Ladd. Thank you to Al Hartman, Nick Marentes, Steve.
What's more with feeling now, David?
Steve B. York, Coco Man, Jason Reichert. We've got Paul Shoemaker in his Oregon Trail. Mark B. out there. Ron Delvaux. Brian the Music Man, Shoebring, L. Curtis Boyle, and last but certainly not least, Mark D. Overholzer. And I will... Somebody say last word.
Push the button, Frank.
Thank you. We're pushing.